You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real as Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered daily digital show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Our goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing $50 each for the whole year. You can make this possible. RolandMartinUnfiltered.com.
Well, it seems today, you can find racism in a stone. I mean, it just seems like it's all over the place, even maybe sometimes when it's not. I'm not particularly familiar.
What the hell does that mean?
With this anchor. Well, that standards for racism are not what it used to be. You actually had to say something racist.
Actually, first of all, you read the story when a white executive, David Friend, is saying in the story, first of all, that questioning someone who's black. When you have Peter Dunn who says he doesn't like the face of the black anchor. When they say that the black anchor, Yuki Washington, I don't like his jive talk. Why is he always dancing? When the black female anchor, Brooke Thomas,
how is that racist? How is saying jive talk racist?
Are you serious?
I mean, what I'm talking about is racist.
Wait. Are you saying when a white, hold up, Lee, are you saying when a white male executive says, I don't like his jive talk, what the hell is that?
So that was never in common use? Jive talk was never something black people said to each other?
What the hell are you talking about? You don't want to... Hold on, stop. Are you being serious right now? Or are we being punked?
No, I think you pick and choose. So we didn't say anything about Joe Biden talking about the word thugs, but if Trump uses the word thugs, somehow it's racist.
Hold on, stop. Don't come on my show. No, Lee. Don't come on my show with bullshit. When Obama used the word thug, no, Lee, no. When Obama used the word thugs against Baltimore, he got his ass lit up. Don't even try that.
You didn't
No, Lee. You're not going to shift this to Biden, Obama, and Trump. We gonna stay right here on CBS. I'm asking you, if a white boss says, I don't like his jive talk, you telling me that has no racial connotation?
Do you know what jive talk means? Do you know what it means?
Oh, my God.
I mean, because we can say, oh, well, I don't like the fact that he's wearing a red shirt. Well, I guess somehow that makes the white person racist.
Hold up. So when the white male boss says, I don't like her face to the black anchor, what is he talking about?
Well, let's put it in context.
Lee, you know what? Lee, hold on, no, Amisha. No.
And ask a question.
No, hell no. No, what we not gonna do is the crap that you doing right now, because you're not going to be a black apologist for racism.
I'm not apologizing.
That's exactly what you're doing. Oh, my God. We can find racism in Iraq. I mean, that's not racist. So what is it? Is it colorful?
Roland, I think just as much as there are white people who can be racist, there are absolutely black people who can be racist.
We are talking right now about white. Hold up. We are talking right now. We are talking right now about two white executives who have been accused of making racist comments by two white executives.
And again, I think this is the point, Roland. This is the point, that racist comments had to be racist. If black people can say something to another person, or if it was in common use at a particular time, somehow today it's racist when it was not racist before.
Boy, bye.
And I think we can anything.
Boy, bye.
I don't know.
Lee, you could take that bullshit to somebody else's show. Lee, that's nonsense. Lee, it's utter nonsense. What you saying right now is absolutely, undeniably ridiculous.
I have dealt with employment cases where I've worked on behalf of clients, whether that's a prison union, whether that's someone in a business. Comments like that do not rise to a level of actionable racism.
Candace, you're a lawyer. Can you respond to this nonsense?
Has she worked on employment cases? I have. I've got experience.
Candace, go ahead.
So in this particular case, when you are dealing with someone using racially filled tropes describing someone who is of color, that does amount to something, especially when you are threatening their job and taking them out of it because of that. Not only threatening, just in Yuki's case, but there was another woman who worked there who was removed after a few months. Producers don't work there who are African American. In the past 6 years, you've got 2 women who left high-paying jobs because they could not take the racism and misogynistic tone from higher-ups. So what we are saying is that there is a case that is being built. Evidence is coming forward, and this is why these men have been temporarily suspended from their position. So a case is being built. It hasn't gone to court yet, but there is evidence. Sure. The evidence is strong. And let me tell you, there are going to be more people that come to the hotline, more people that will be sharing their information and stories in order to build a case. This is what people said in the Me Too movement. Oh, nothing's going to happen. And look what happened.
So Lee, let me ask you this question, Lee. You don't find it strange that in Philadelphia, that's 43% black, this station hasn't had a full-time news producer in 6 years?
So I think the whole point of that question is bias.
Actually, no.
It's the bias question.
Actually, I'm asking you a question.
You have to look at the way that the question is phrased. You have to look at, it's not just 43 million people. It's how many people are qualified.
No, it's not 43 million. It's 43%.
Oh, 43%. It's how many people of that percentage are qualified. How many of them have journalistic degrees. You can't just throw out a number and say black people.
Lee,
you can't
do you actually wake up with this bullshit in your mind?
I'm convinced, Roland, you know,
Lee, I'm a 31-year member of the National Association of Black Journalists. Are you telling me, Lee, you say you in New York? You in New York, right?
I am, yes.
So if there was a law firm in New York that's a major law firm in New York City, which has the largest concentration of black people in America, and if that law firm was all white, it wouldn't ever occur to Lee to say, how y'all all white in New York City? Would Lee go, well, I think this is going to take into question whether any qualified black lawyers actually applied to work here at the firm? You're not going to say that, Lee. You're going to say,
Roland,
how in the hell y'all don't have any black lawyers here? But so
no,
are you
that's not what
or are you going to say, hey, just give me a group white hug, we good?
Roland, I think what we have to realize is that when you make things about race that are not,
hey,
you
Lee,
look at how many people.
If I see a room full of white lawyers and ain't nobody black, that ain't race?
It's not, Roland, and I think that's the problem.
It's just all white?
It's not.
It's just all white.
How many people. For example, let's take your legal field. Let's take your legal example.
No. I'm gonna stick with the journalism. All I'm asking is this here: if I got an all-white newsroom, 6 years, not somebody left, we didn't replace them in a year. 6 years, no full-time black producers at all. You telling me that's not an indication we got a problem? Knowing full well that Philadelphia is one of the top 5 media markets in the country, And there are people all over the country, eminently qualified, who would love to work in Philadelphia. Are you telling me they ain't a problem?
I'm telling you, you're looking for a problem where there may not be one. Again, look at the people qualified. Look at the application.
Are there applications? That's stupid. Lee, that is so stupid. Lee, no, here's why it's stupid. Lee, let me ask you a question. Lee, let me ask you a question.
You don't want the answer.
Lee, I'm a question. Have you ever sat down with television headhunters?
I can tell you that I've been in boardrooms.
No. I asked you specifically.
I can tell you.
No, Lee. Answer my question. Has Lee ever sat down with television headhunters?
No.
I have.
But that's not indicative of racism.
Wait.
It's not.
I have. 19.
Do you want
Lee. I am educating you about my business, which you know nothing about.
And I'm educating you on reality. You seem
1990. Board meeting of the National Association of Black Journalists. We had a meeting with the top headhunters for television. Frank Maggot, all of them. They said, oh my God, we just have difficulty finding qualified black producers. The nonsense you just said. Sitting to our right was Callie Crossley. Callie Crossley was the top producer for medicine at ABC's 2020. Callie Crossley, Oscar-nominated producer for Eyes on the Prize. Callie Crossley then said, how many do y'all need? They said, well, what do you mean? She says, y'all said y'all can't find any. She says, how many do you need? Give me your category of.
This is exactly
I'm not done.
What
I'm
I
not
meant.
done. She said, give me your category of, do you want 5 years experience, 10 years experience, 15 years experience, 20 years experience? So Lee, when you say, oh my God, did any qualified actually apply? Yes.
Well, how do you know that, Roland? How do you know that?
Because Lee, this is what happens when you read. You're asking, how do you know that, Lee? Because I know my business. There's a lawsuit that's been filed against CBS in Miami where they were pushing people to only be freelancers. There's an entire body of people who are freelance producers in Miami, in Philadelphia, in New York, who are eminently qualified, who they would not hire for full-time positions. Lee, I know because I know.
Again, I'm not saying that that's not true. I'm not saying that that's not true, but I think, but I think what you are missing.
How do I know?
What you are missing is that you can't take a percentage of people. You can't say, oh, well, there are 43% of black people live in this particular area, so there should be, maybe something equivalent to that, or maybe why aren't there more black people? It doesn't work like that, Roland. I'm sorry to tell you, but
Lee,
the world doesn't work like that.
Lee, are you trying to see, Candace and Amisha, this is what's silly when black conservatives make these arguments and they literally are essentially apologists for white supremacists.
That's not what I'm saying.
That's
and I think if you say that, you obviously are not listening.
Here's the deal.
Because I'm happy to explain.
I am smart enough to know. I am smart enough to know, Amisha, that when I can walk into a room, ain't no black people, and then you ask the question, how y'all all white? And then it's like, oh.
That sounds like a question that someone who's racist would say.
No, that's not
because you're assuming. You're assuming.
Amisha, go ahead.
Lee, the dichotomy you use is the same one that white supremacists have used for decades. Well, black people
don't
just
compare me to white supremacists.
You don't have to be educated.
Actually, Lee.
It has been proven faulty over and over. Lee, I just listened to you talk for almost 15 minutes, sending all of America off. So
apparently you haven't learned anything.
Anyhow, what we have heard time and time again from people who do not want to hire black people is that they cannot find qualified black people. That has been proven faulty time and time again. As a fellow member of NABJ, and somebody who has worked in various news stations, what I have seen is talented black person after talented black person not get the same type of review as you would somebody who is not black. Black people who've been told, oh, you can't come on because you don't have a certain look, which means that look is your skin tone. So when you look at something like what we saw at CBS, where they're talking about jiving and dancing and all of that, I have no understanding in my head as to why you as a black man don't understand how that's offensive. But flow by your own boat. Anyway,
because I think you're just too sensitive.
Who are of color can see that when a white person says that, they are saying it to diminish you. They are saying it to diminish your talent. It was used as a trope against a man who was known in his community, who was esteemed in his community, who had a legacy of career wins. This was not something that was said in a joking manner. This is something that he said over and over again, and it is a pattern of behavior that was done by executives at CBS to shut out Black people. And I think that for a Black man to sit up here, regardless of what political stripe you are, you may be a conservative, fine and good, whatever, but you cannot, in good faith, be here and talk as though racism does not exist in these situations. You cannot argue
let me tell you
that.
This.
Wait, Amisha, go ahead.
Cannot.
Hold up.
You cannot.
Wait, hold up. No, hold up, Lee, hold up. I'm gonna go to Candace. Candace, this is very interesting. If I went into a neighborhood and I said, or let's say I went to a mortgage office and I said, let me ask y'all a question. How is it that every loan you sign is for white folks? How is it? And then if I say, how are you in a diverse city and every loan you process is white? Anybody who understands housing discrimination, what they would then do is they would do these studies where they would actually send testers in. And then they would actually test them. It is undeniable when you're talking about major cities in America, are the top TV stations: Los Angeles, New York City, Chicago, Dallas, Philadelphia, Houston. Okay, I can go down, and you say y'all ain't got no full-time Black producers, like zero. What's up with your hiring practices? Who's doing the hiring? Those are basic fundamental things. And Candace, I would think for an attorney, you sitting here going, let's get to work. Go ahead.
Right. I smell a case coming. Now, here's what typically happens in newsrooms for people who don't know. They will hire people on the anchor desk who reflect the community, right? So you look in Detroit, Michigan, they have a large Muslim community, people of color too. They typically will hire someone that looks like someone in the community. Atlanta, you go down, you have a lot of anchors that are Black, of course, because Atlanta has a large population. What unfortunately happens in these newsrooms is that the people who work and play together in the newsrooms, they are the gatekeepers of people who don't look like them, because they have to play and spend long hours, and they don't care to be amongst them. That's on the producer side. On the other side, Black women especially have always had to negotiate the way that they looked on air, from their hair to their size to the width of their nose. There's always been something where executives have had something to say, which is why often when you are in these newsrooms, you're the O&O. You're the one and only, all right? It's not just, at different levels of operations and different, in academia, that's how it happens. Here is how it happens on boards of big companies. That's just how it happens. There has to be a change in the infrastructure, a change in the system, so that people can understand that their mentality in saying, oh, I can't find someone who's qualified for this job is grounded and rooted in racism. Lee, I have said to you before, I would like the key to the parallel universe that you are in. It seems rather
you're living in.
No, wait now. Finish your comment, Candace. Go ahead, Candace.
It's real.
All right, Lee, you got wait, you got 60 seconds, and then I got to end the show. Go.
As someone who, is an attorney, I mean, you should know that's just not how it works. I mean, you don't have boardrooms, you don't have law offices that are flowing with Black people or not because it's racism. That's not the reality. And Amisha, I'm sorry to tell you, but you're going to have to open up a book or read the news or something, because that's not what's happening in the real world.
I've worked in news. Trust me, I have my understanding. I've worked in presidential administration. Don't try to check me.
And I can tell you, Amisha, that you still have a lot of work left to do, because when everything is racist,
you need to learn about critical race theory. You need to learn your place.
A large picture. when everything is about race. And Amisha, I'm sorry to tell you, but that's what you're making it. You're making everything about race,
No,
even when
black
it's
man
not.
disgust me, and I'm going to tell you why. Because for you, it's not racism unless you get the N-word.
Hold on, one second. Hold up, 1 second. Lee, hold up. Lee, hold up. Everybody wait. Lee, I'm giving you 20 seconds. Amisha will have 30 seconds to respond. Candace will have 30 seconds to respond, and then I'm into the show. Go.
I'm saying as a black man, I have no problem calling out racism when it happens, when it exists, when it happens. But when we jump on every single thing because someone said one comment or because someone thought of something, that's not racism. And we're taking it too far. Justice Scalia said in an opinion that these comments are going to equate to living in a society with civilians.
20 seconds is up. Amisha, go. Amisha, go.
Lee is one of those conservatives who feels as though unless the N-word is said or a cross is burned in your yard, it's not racism. I've heard this time and time again from Caucasian conservatives, and I think that Lee has swallowed he has drank the Kool-Aid there, and he is here spewing that same stuff. It's depressing, it's frustrating, but it's more of the same when it comes to conservatives denying that racism exists.
Candace, go.
Lee, if you had told Anisha in the middle of a workroom that the three of us worked in that she needed to read a book or open up a newspaper, you would be fired, and I would make sure that it would happen.
And I could tell you that I would have a very good loss.
That is it for us. All right, folks, back to our Roland Martin Unfiltered video in just one moment.
It's time to be smart. When we control our institutions, we win. This is the most important news show on television of any racial background. Y'all put $2, $3, $4, $5, $10, $15, $20, $30 on this and keep this going. What you've done, Roland, since this crisis came out in full bloom. Anybody watching this, tell your friends. Go back and look at the last 2 weeks, especially of Roland Martin Unfiltered. I mean, hell, go back and look at the last 2 days. You've had sitting United States senators today, Klobuchar and Harris. Whatever you have that you can bring to Roland Martin Unfiltered to support it, please do, because this information may literally save your life.
Watch Roland Martin Unfiltered daily at 6 p.m. Eastern on YouTube, Facebook, or Periscope. Go to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered Daily Digital Show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Our goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing $50 each for the whole year. You can make this possible. RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real. It's Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered Daily Digital Show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Our goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing $50 each for the whole year. You can make this possible. RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Proud Boys organizer Joseph Randall Biggs. He was arrested in Florida on Wednesday. The FBI says the 37-year-old did aid, abet, counsel, command, induce, or procure others to storm the U.S. Capitol on January 6th. They also say he helped to pre-plan the deadly riot and was one of the first people to storm the Capitol. Biggs, however, appeared in federal court Wednesday and said he did not have any knowledge of pre-planning the January 6th event. The 37-year-old was released under home confinement. He is facing counts of obstructing an official proceeding of Congress, illegal entry, and disorderly conduct on restricted Capitol grounds. I'm trying to figure out how in the hell you get released on home confinement. Then, of course, there's the white woman out of Texas who chartered the plane to fly to D.C. Now her ass on PayPal begging for donations because, remember, she also released a video begging Trump to give her and others a pardon. See, this is the thing, Erica. These fools, they literally thought Trump was going to pardon their ass. They thought they were going on a field trip. Now by getting arrested, they're like, damn, this thing's serious. Yeah. Yeah.
Being months about
when your dumb ass stormed the Capitol and beat cops and toss side barricades and steal podiums and laptops and go on the floor of the House and the Senate, your ass might be in trouble.
Just a little bit, especially when there are hundreds and thousands of videos and
that you live streamed. I mean, that's like the dude who shot some video of him selling crack and then said, I just made $100 and live streamed it.
Yeah. Essentially, that's what happened here. And it's really interesting and it's telling, too, because a lot of these insurrectionists did not believe that consequences, that they would face consequences. They felt like the consequences that they would face, consequences were really for Black, Indigenous, and other people, not necessarily for white people. But now that the FBI tip line has continued to be flooded, Twitter and other people on different social media platforms have began to turn in and to say that, oh, I know who this person is. The chick that was picked up because the laptop she stole out of Speaker Pelosi's house and then tried to sell it to Russia. Like, no, sweetheart, there is a part of justice that does belong to you as well. It might not be administered in the same way that it is to Black and brown bodies, but you will see some of it. So that's why you kind of see, the guy I think that you're talking about, I think that was in New York State where he thought that thousands of people would be showing up, his brother and his sister, and he was the only one there. Yeah, fool, because all of those people have been captured on video. They've been geolocated. And so you have people that believe that they're being followed by the FBI. Perfect, great, good for you. Get just a small glimpse of what life is like for Black folks. Just a teeny little insight into what that life is like. And so for those people that do believe that they can walk around and not have to face any consequences behind the very serious actions that took place on January the 6th, they are soon finding out that absolutely accountability is a thing, even for white people.
You know what? I'm doing this here. She posted this. Y'all go to my iPad. She posted, help support Jenna Ryan by donating or retweeting. I'm accepting donations to pay legal fees and losses due to my arrest and charges by the FBI for protesting at the U.S. Capitol. Let me just tweet her. Hell no. Call. Yeah, see, I've been watching too many Reese's videos. Call Whitlock.
Oh, this is a first.
Angie Stanton. Let's see here. Oh, Bruce Lavelle. Let's see. Oh, Rep Vernon Jones. Paris Denard.
Oh my God.
Let's see here. Hold up. Call Real Candace.
Murder was the case.
Let's see here. Oh, that ignorant fool Brandon Tatum. Let's see here. Oh, you know what? Go ahead and call crazy fool Charlie Kirk. Let's see. Oh, you know what? Call Lauren Boebert, that fool. Anybody else? You know what? What the hell? Call Rand Paul. Let's see. Ted Cruz. Let's see. Call Josh Hawley. Yeah. Anybody else? I should tweet too. You know what? Somebody. Hey, thank you, YouTube. Thank you, Zach Attack. Hit Diamond and Silk. That Lil Leprechaun, and Lil Leprechaun, Terrence. Yeah, there you go. Enjoy. Roland Martin Unfiltered.
And you tagging RNU.
You know, I gotta go ahead. I gotta get some. There you go. All right, yeah, go. I'm done with that one. Yes, I'm done. Greg, I'm just saying. I've been watching too many Reese videos.
See what you did, Reese?
The Reese effect.
Listen, I'm all for it.
Everybody gets sprayed.
But you know, the crazy thing is, the reason we know 9/11/2001 is because nobody had that date circled on the calendar, even though Condoleezza Rice and them knew that something was going to happen, and the Bush administration. Well, a reason I'm bringing that up is because, we got past 1/20/21, but, Now we got to worry about every other day. That's why this whole thing with the Attorney General. Okay, Merrick Garland, you better let Kristen Clark do what she know how to do, because these people right here, they mad about now. You said lady was crying. It was all fun and games until it's like July the 8th or something like that. What the hell? Remember, go read Timothy McVeigh's testimony in the trial with the Oklahoma City bombing. These guys don't go away. So at this point, you got to press the advantage. And you're right, Roland. Damn Mitch McConnell. Break his whole back. This guy got to go, because he could have tagged him on it too. They are betting on this thing just kind of simmering down. No, that's when you at your most vulnerable. So yeah, it's all fun and games, no question. But yeah, we got past yesterday. You know what that bought us? Today. We get past today. You know what that bought us? Tomorrow. I'd be well said the price of justice, the price of freedom, is eternal vigilance. You know what I'm saying? You gotta watch these people.
All right, folks, back to our Roland Martin Unfiltered video in just one moment.
It's time to be smart. When we control our institutions, we win. This is the most important news show on television of any racial background. Y'all put $2, $3, $4, $5, $10, $15, $20, $30 on this and keep this going. What you've done, Roland, since this crisis came out in full bloom. Anybody watching this, tell your friends. Go back and look at the last 2 weeks, especially of Roland Martin Unfiltered. I mean, hell, go back and look at the last 2 days. You've had sitting United States senators today, Klobuchar and Harris. Whatever you have that you can bring to Roland Martin Unfiltered to support it, please do, because this information may literally save your life.
Watch Roland Martin Unfiltered daily at 6 p.m. Eastern on YouTube, Facebook, or Periscope, or go to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered Daily Digital Show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Our goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing $50 each for the whole year. You can make this possible. RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real as Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered Daily Digital Show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Our goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing $50 each for the whole year. You can make this possible. RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. These Southern Baptist folk, y'all, they're a little special. They're a little special. They've always shied away from the issue of race. Now, they are causing another rift with black pastors. Several black pastors have recently exited the Southern Baptist Convention, which is predominantly white, due to racial encounters with some convention leaders. Now, this whole issue of critical race theory, the Southern Baptist Convention, the leaders of their seminaries, got together to denounce critical race theory. Well, that didn't sit too well with brothers and sisters in the SBC who understand it quite well. Joining us right now is Reverend Dr. Dwight McKissick, senior pastor at Cornerstone Baptist Church in Arlington, Texas, who says he is considering leaving the SBC as well. Pastor McKissick, glad to have you back on Roland Martin Unfiltered. Well, I had you on my TV One show. This is the first time on Roland Martin Unfiltered, but glad to see you again and say hey to all of my folks there in the Metroplex. Hate I can't get there to see them. My pastor, my alpha brother, Ralph Douglas West, wrote a letter criticizing the SBC as well for their actions when it came to them coming out with denouncing critical race theory, saying that it was inconsistent with biblical views. You have been quoted as saying that, you know what, it may be time to have a divorce with the SBC. Explain.
Roland, so good to hear your voice and appreciate the years we've known each other. Explain. We were all blindsided by the action of the Southern Baptist Convention presidents. We didn't see this coming. We don't know what motivated this, in as much as they did not denounce the Proud Boys, the lost cause theory. There are many things that they could have denounced that they have chosen not to. Why CRT is still a bit of a mystery. But the issue is 6 Anglo males have provided with their institutions rules about race, what is permissible to say, what is not permissible to say, and they will be the guardians of what is said about race in a way that we think is, first of all, disrespectful to the black pastors and congregations that you would make such a ruling without considering us. I got a feeling Frederick Douglass, Phyllis Wheatley, Sojourner Truth, W.B. Du Bois, Booker T. Washington would look at us, would ask us to say, you all are going to let an institution make rules about race, the boundaries of what can be taught about race, and you have zero input in that, not only the conversation, but the decision. So if this is not, some have already left, like your illustrious pastor, Charlotte Dates, many others, and more people are quietly leaving than even verbalizing it. But I do have a long history with them, 45 years. It's been more positive than negative, though we've had our battles along the way, and you featured me on one of your programs when we had a battle on your TV show. But this will be a final straw. Now, the untold story in all of this, Resolution 9, they made a great decision in June 2019. Dr. Curtis Woods, who graduated from black institutions, Philander Smith and Arkansas, University of Arkansas Pine Bluff Historical Black College, went on to get other degrees at Dallas Theological Seminary, Southern Seminary. His PhD is in the subject of critical race theory. He's the most articulate, knowledgeable man in the Southern Baptist Convention on the subject of critical race theory. His resolution committee, which has about 4 other PhDs, all of them the most versed, educated people on critical race theory, recommended a policy, said some things we accept, other things we reject. The Bible rules supreme, the Baptist Faith and Message rules supreme, but there are certain beneficial aspects of critical race theory that are valid. So Trump instituted a policy in the government that reversed that critical race theory teachings. A founders group that is equally on the other side, very right wing. And then you had 2 or 3 state conventions in the South who went against that critical race theory. So in an unprecedented way, the presidents have since decided that they want to reverse what the convention has voted on. That is rare. Here, a race theory. You're not denouncing the Proud Boys.
Right.
They've never denounced the lost cause theory, but you're going to denounce critical race theory that Derek Bell, a Harvard professor at one point, is the architect of this. He said it was not Marxist or communist in his nature. He did not connect his critical race theory views to critical theory, which is another discipline. They keep trying to tie those two together because critical theory does have some Marxian influence. But we are appalled that whatever you say about race in a Sunday school class now, Black Southern Baptists need to understand this. The Jeremiah Wright speech, who would determine whether his race speech that got President Obama in trouble, we remember that, would that violate this Southern Baptist policy? Nobody want to answer that question. In other words, they have put themselves in a position, particularly if they adopted this summer, as having control over what you can say in a black pulpit about race. Some of us will not accept that.
This is what my pastor, Ralph Douglas West, wrote. And it's important. My wife was ordained under Pastor West. Was the first education, minister under him. And this is what he wrote. And y'all can roll the video of Pastor West while I read this. To be sure, I do not offer a full-throated affirmation of all of the tenets of critical race theory and conceptions of intersectionality. Roll the video of Pastor West. Thank you very much. I am fully aware these are secular theories, rooted in notions that suggest solutions are wholly secular. I know Christ is the answer to the world and all of its ills. Of this, I have no doubt. But I take issue with the assertion that such theories are, quote, incompatible with the gospel. As their brother in Christ, as an African-American Christian, as a pastor in the Lord's church, I stand against this assessment, and I strongly disagree with the seminary presidents. He has gone so far, Pastor McKissick, as to withdraw from a doctoral program at Southwestern Theological Seminary. And this is what Pastor West also wrote. One would expect they would stand against the rise of anti-Semitism and racism seen in groups like the Proud Boys. They would stand against police violence against black bodies and stand in solidarity with the black community. They would call the names of George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, and Ahmaud Arbery, but they have not done that. Their stand against racism rings hollow when in their next breath they reject theories that have been helpful in framing the problem of racism. Are these systems spiritual and on par with the biblical text? Absolutely not. But can one secular theory helpful in human flourishing be named that is not also equally lacking? One could look at economic theories, social theories, etc. Enlightenment conceptions have been upheld despite having no root in the Bible because they still offer us some value.
Very good. I mean, Christian nationalism is much more of a problem. It led to an insurrection on January 6th. People praying in the name of Jesus, holding up Christian flags, waving Bibles, breaking into the Capitol. They have never, these same 6 seminary presidents, as a council of presidents, have not denounced Christian nationalism, but yet you want to denounce a tool that's designed to create a tool to identify racism and root it out of American society.
The thing here, Pastor McKissick, and let's just cut to the chase.
Yes.
And Reverend Barber uses this term all the time. The Southern Baptist Convention historically has been about white slaveholder religion.
Yes.
It has been about white supremacy. And the reality is, if you go through the 50s and the 60s, they were still there. They were still there. SBC standing up for Jim Crow. And if we really want to be honest, there are, when you look at white conservative evangelicals in this country, they ran after anything and everything Donald Trump said, did not denounce comments of dealing with Charlottesville, did not denounce his constant attacks on black women who are members of Congress, has not denounced any number of things that are impacted, because for them, whatever Donald Trump said, they stood behind. And this is an example that black folks keep saying why you have black folks who've been leaving the SBC denomination, going to the National Baptist Convention USA, going to the Full Gospel Baptist Fellowship, or choosing to be non-denominational, because you got white folks in the SBC who are showing their whiteness and not loving the same Jesus as black Christians.
Roland, did you happen to see A Night in Miami? Did you happen to?
Yes, I did. One Night in Miami, directed by Regina King.
Yeah, Jim Brown on that porch. That was a telling event to sort of remind me of what we're discussing right now. Jim Brown had access to the full porch, could drink lemonade on the front porch, be treated with certain dignity and respect by Bo Bridges and his daughter, but requesting to go inside and help him to move some furniture around.
Right.
Bo Bridges let him know that there's just a limit. The nigga can't come inside here. Well, Southern Baptist...
With a smile on his face.
With a smile, exactly. The Southern Baptist Convention tells us, we'll let you on this beautiful front porch. We'll even serve you lemonade. We'll even let you preside on this front porch. But, you know, come in the house and rearrange furniture. You will not come in the guts of this place. We will set the rules about race, the parameters, the doctrine on race, and declare it incompatible with the Baptist faith and message, which means that we determine what you're saying about race is wrong. You have just become a heretic.
Dude, hey, Pastor McKissick, whoever's with you, let them know we can't see the messages popping up on the phone. They don't need to keep putting the finger across the screen. So what's popping up is not showing up on the screen. So don't worry about it. People think it is, it's not.
I appreciate that.
All right, go right ahead.
And so, yeah, that's where we are. The message they're sending to us is that you will never have full equality in the SBC. You can have the porch, We'll treat you nice on the porch. We might even let you be president, a job with no budget, no salary, no employees, no personnel. It's basically an honorary job. Most people didn't realize that. We'll let you do that from the front porch. What you will not come in is rearrange the furniture. You will not come in and set parameters. You will not. All the entity heads are white. Now I've been talking about that for years. Now I see that is by design. If we won't even let you have input into a policy we make, we're surely not going to put you in charge of presiding the policy, which means if I have a Sunday school teacher or literature, all literature that rolls out from the SBC will be filtered through this policy that says critical race theory, even the good aspects of critical race theory, will not be tolerated or accepted. So Black churches have put themselves in a position now where when the 9 entities send us literature, it has been had to be approved, and its parameters were set by somebody who didn't look like us. That's Ralph West, Charlie Days Miller said, that's a pill we cannot swallow, will not swallow. And some asking me, why are you waiting to June? That's a very good question. I'm hope for a miracle, but they are overturning, don't miss this, Roland, PhD, Curtis Morris, smartest Black man on this issue in the entire convention, not of our race, period. PhD in the subject. He resigned his teacher position at Southern Seminary after Al Mohler would not stand with him on this. They are overturning the work he led and committed to do. That is huge, and I will not disrespect him and stand with a convention that would so openly defy the good work not only he did, but that entire interracial, intergenerational, and cross-gender committee not only worked hard to put together, voted on and approved by the messages. Now, in hindsight, we're going to go back and undo that because a few white folk with money and who are driven by right-wing politics says we don't like this. And that this is where we are.
Well, Pastor McKissick, we'll be following this story, and we'll see what you decide in June.
Thank you so much, my friend. Good talking to you.
I appreciate it. You take care. Let's go to my panel here. Lee, isn't this a fundamental problem with these white conservative evangelicals? They have no clue about Black folks. They don't want to actually hear. For the fact that these seminary presidents would make this decision and not even consult any Black pastors, that's an insult.
Well, I think I would prefer my preachers to be less involved in politics and more involved in religion. But I would point to the Bible as plenty of an example of critical race theory. Look at Galatians 3:28. They're neither Jew nor Gentile. I think there are lots that are in the source of the material that we could look to.
But isn't this the problem of white conservative evangelicals? Isn't this the problem that they are more white conservative and less evangelical? Isn't that the problem?
I think the problem is making a racial issue out of something that should be religion. So I would say no, this isn't a problem. You've got 15 million members of the SBC.
What's not a problem?
400,000 of them are Black. I think if they want to stick to, and this is their argument is, and I think it's a good one, is we're teaching what the Bible says. We don't need outside material. If I go to Mass and my priest opens up the new Jim Crow instead of the Bible, that's the real problem. The real problem is not a focus on religion, on the text, on the words of the scripture. That's something that we should encourage. And to seem somehow that we have to bring in critical race theory, which I have, my graduate work before I went to law school is in women and gender studies. So I have a very storied background in critical race theory. I'm very well aware of what it teaches, and I don't think it's the place in the church. I think if you want to have a book club or you want to do something like that on a college campus, that's a different story.
So do you also condemn these white conservative evangelicals who stand in the pulpit, who prayed against Biden's election, who prayed to overturn the election for Donald Trump? Isn't that politics in the pulpit?
Oh, no, I agree. I mean, I definitely don't think, again, I don't care what color you are, although it seems to be that we have to make it about white versus black.
No, Lee. We don't make it about white versus black. They make it about white versus black, Amisha.
And they always have. Like, Lee, I don't know you personally, but this whole argument has been, quite frankly, disgusting. And I say that because the white evangelical church in this country has, for the longest, since its inception, divided America. The most divided place in America is the church on Sunday. And what we know is taught by and what they stand by in the white evangelical church for the longest has been everything that is against diversity. We know that many of them also stood part and parcel to the KKK, anti-civil rights. They were largely the people who stood by holding slaves. And today they're largely people who were also found leading this insurrection. So let's not pretend like this is anything different. We saw Paula White. We saw, Liberty University leaders who are now, gone off in some stage of infamy. We've seen this time and time again from evangelical leaders of the white church who have never come to grips with the issue of race. They don't want to have the conversation. They want to shut anybody else down who does, but they have absolutely no problem in standing by when discriminatory laws pass and actually pushing them themselves. Like, this is something that really matters. And I think as someone, me, who went to Belmont University, which is a very large Christian university in the South that used to be run by the Southern Baptist Convention, they broke away from them because they refused to have anyone on the board of the university that was a person of color. That is how, and that was in 2009. This is what we are looking at when we're talking about the Southern Baptist Convention. These are people who within their grain, a lot of their leadership has very racist tendencies, and there's no other way around it. We can argue that they need to be taught better. Maybe they just need to understand. But to be honest, many of them have blinders on, and critical race theory can be helpful. I would like to hear Republicans not talk about it like it's some type of antithesis to America or an antithesis to democracy, because race isn't antithetical to democracy. What it is part of our culture. It's part of our country. We need to have these discussions because the microaggressions, the racism, the white supremacy, those are things that have been in this country since its inception and show no real signs of stopping. Us ignoring it and not wanting to have that conversation and not face it and not pushing the religious leaders who have benefited off of it for years is ignorant. And I think that at this point, we need to make them face the music because they have no problem in standing up and using the Bible to push a lot of their racist narratives. And they have done it for decades. Anybody can pull out a verse from Matthew, Mark, Luke, or John, or anything in the Old Testament and still be absolutely fine with certain levels of discrimination across this country. And I think, quite frankly, that is disgusting and sick and is antithetical to
Amisha,
the teachings of
One second, Candace.
For hundreds of years, the church has been a place where people have come and galvanized to deal with issues of race. This is really no different. The systematic racism that exists is something that the SBC should take seriously. But as you mentioned, Roland, they have a history of being the antithesis of a group that should be supporting people to make sure that they are treated equally. Now, I do agree in a way with Lee on some points in that they can look to the Bible for several examples. That's what's getting away from me. And that if they are the SBC, whose mission is what they say it really is, and if they're going to abide by it, then they should look to the Bible to see that there is one human race and that the Bible does not separate by anything, not by race, not by sex. Okay. And so that when we look at what the Bible says, it's just inexcusable why they can't even use that basis to form critical understanding around critical race theory or this whole idea of systematic racism within America. There's no reason why they shouldn't be addressing it. That has been a part in a history of who they were and are. I'm not sure why they're stopping now.
Well, it's very simple. If you don't even have the decency to talk to black pastors before you release a statement on critical race theory, that means you have a severe blind spot when it comes to race. All right, folks, back to our Roland Martin Unfiltered video in just one moment.
It's time to be smart. When we control our institutions, we win. This is the most important news show on television of any racial background. Y'all put $2, $3, $4, $5, $10, $15, $20, $30 on this and keep this going. What you've done, Roland, since this crisis came out in full bloom. Anybody watching this, tell your friends. Go back and look at the last 2 weeks, especially of Roland Martin Unfiltered. I mean, hell, go back and look at the last 2 days. You've had sitting United States senators today, Klobuchar and Harris. Whatever you have that you can bring to Roland Martin Unfiltered to support it, please do, because this information may literally save your life.
Watch Roland Martin Unfiltered daily at 6 p.m. Eastern on YouTube, Facebook, or Periscope, or go to RolandMartinFiltered.com. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered Daily Digital Show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Our goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing $50 each for the whole year. You can make this possible. RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real. It's Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered Daily Digital Show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You can make this possible. White domestic terrorism is the biggest issue facing this country, according to the FBI, when it comes to the issue of terrorism. Yesterday, President Joe Biden's domestic policy advisor, Susan Rice, talked about the issue of domestic terrorism when Biden revealed a number of executive orders, those dealing with racial equity. Watch this.
We have seen, and it's been plain for all Americans on their television sets, just how serious a problem we face from nationalists and white supremacists who have demonstrated willingness to resort to violence in some instances. And that is why the president has ordered the intelligence community to compile a comprehensive assessment of the nature of this threat and challenge and its origins and roots, and thus provide policymakers with inputs that will be very important to address this challenge. The National Security Council has set up a capacity within the NSC to focus on domestic violent extremism and to ensure that we are within the White House and within the interagency coordinating efforts to craft and implement policies that will address this. So we're taking it quite seriously.
Let's go to our panel. A. Scott Bolden, former chair, National Bar Association Political Action Committee. Robert Portillo, Executive Director, Rainbow Push Coalition, Peachtree Street Project. And we'll be joined by Monique Presley, Crisis Manager and Legal Analyst. Robert, I'll start with you. This issue, domestic terrorism, let's call it what it is, white domestic terrorism. That is the fundamental issue of terror facing America, white domestic terrorists.
You're absolutely correct. And we can go back to Sandy Hook. All these years we've been calling them school shootings. Those are white domestic terrorist attacks. If you want to look at Oklahoma City, if you want to look at Ruby Ridge, if you want to go back to the Branch Davidians, this has been growing and metastasizing long before President Trump was in office and will continue long after him. But the difference is now we can actually address them in an honest and cohesive manner. We have seen the power of these online chat groups of QAnon and 4chan and motivating many of these white supremacists. We have seen that they are well armed. They have tactics, they have bug out bags and kits and all those other things. So they are ready for war in this country. They're ready to tear this country apart. And we do not attack them the same way we went after the Islamic State, the same way we went after Al-Qaeda. Then they will be working to destroy this country from the inside out for generations to come. So I think the domestic policy priorities of the Biden administration have to be predicated on bringing down many of these terrorist networks and bringing down the politicians who have infiltrated our political system that are supporting them and that are their gravamon, that are their leaders in the Congress and the Senate and even in the White House. And that's why we have to have a full investigation, a 9/11 style commission to root these people out, to prosecute them, to arrest them, and to jail them.
Scott, again, the charge to prosecutors should be focused largely on getting the job done, putting these people away. And again, the reason we are saying white domestic terrorism is because we got to call it what it is. America never wants to call out white folks. Never. Now, the FBI under Trump tried to call black identity extremists or whatever the hell they want to call it. No, we're going to call it what it is. White terrorists, white domestic terrorists.
Well, the first thing you have to do to fight white domestic terrorism is to rid yourself of this white privilege and this second big lie. What is that second big lie, Roland? You could say it with me, that black people are killing police officers and therefore they are a threat, like Black Lives Matter is a threat to the police. But what do the Pew Trust reports say? What do DOJ statistics say themselves? Who's killing white police officers around this country on an annual basis, right? White hate groups, white conservatives, white Republicans who are activists on the far right, who are those white domestic terrorists. Who'd they kill up on the Capitol? last week or 2 weeks ago. Those were white insurrectionists, conservatives, far-right, domestic terrorists who killed that police officer. So we got to blow it out your mind that this white privilege says black people are a danger to police officers and they're shooting and killing black people because they feel threatened for their lives. They ought to be afraid of white conservative terrorists more so than Black Lives Matter. And so it's about time, take a fair look at it, right? Because free speech, which is what they'll cloak themselves in, has never been free speech or violent speech. There's never been free speech for black people. And so hopefully we'll get to the bottom of it with the DOJ cooperating with the Biden administration.
Monique.
Well, the big lie is not really what happened this past January. The big lie is that the Black people, and I'll expand it and say people of color in the United States, are the ones that we need to be afraid of, the ones that we should be terrorized by, when it's been clear decade after decade after decade that there is a real problem in this country with young white males and the level of anger and hatred that they carry, and the way that it is used in order to just commit crimes, heinous crimes against citizens of our country. And the things that happened last week in the Capitol, the things that happened in Oklahoma, the things that happened in Florida, the things that happened at Sandy Hook, that's not black folks. And it's never been black folks. And we've had the right to be as angry as anybody. We've had the right to be as hateful as anybody. But we've never turned that inward on our own government and thought that the way of solving our problems was by committing sedition against our own government. We've always fought to fix the system and to be recognized for who we are as human beings. And this is something completely different.
And Roland,
Go ahead.
Roland, I think it's also important to remember that what happens when you don't address these issues at the time. We saw what happened in Michigan, where they stormed the Michigan Capitol and tried to kidnap the governor there. We did nothing to those people. Many of those people went home scot-free. We saw them nearly storm the Capitol in Kentucky. They hung an effigy of the governor there and burned it outside of the Capitol. We did nothing at that point. There was a plot to kidnap the governor of Virginia, and we never rooted that out. So then when January the 6th happens, it's not as if that was a surprise. They did 3 or 4 dry runs of raiding capitals around the country, and then they took it to the national level. So we don't address it now. Then what's the next step after this? Do they really break in next time? Do they really get to kidnap the vice president? Do they really kidnap the Speaker of the House? Do we see ourselves go from an actual republic into a military police state trying to put down domestic terrorist insurrections year after year? So it's very important and crucial not to make this a campaign or an election issue, not to make it a partisan issue, but everybody should be on board with this effort to break down these terrorist networks.
That is the case, and again, but you got to call it what it is. And too often, major media doesn't want to do that. White folks don't want to do that. And I can guarantee you, if there were a bunch of Muslims or black people walking around, they would be calling them Muslim terrorists, black terrorists. That's what they would be doing, and we all know it. We all know it. All right, folks, back to our Roland Martin Unfiltered video in just one moment.
It's time to be smart. When we control our institutions, we win. This is the most important news show on television of any racial background. Y'all put $2, $3, $4, $5, $10, $15, $20, $30 on this and keep this going. What you've done, Roland, since this crisis came out in full bloom. Anybody watching this, tell your friends. Go back and look at the last 2 weeks, especially of Roland Martin Unfiltered. I mean, hell, go back and look at the last 2 days. You've had sitting United States senators today, Klobuchar and Harris. Whatever you have that you can bring to Roland Martin Unfiltered to support it, please do, because this information may literally save your life.
Watch Roland Martin Unfiltered daily at 6 p.m. Eastern on YouTube, Facebook, or Scope, or go to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered Daily Digital Show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Our goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing $50 each for the whole year. You can make this possible. RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real. As Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered daily digital show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You can make this possible. Folks, disturbing video depicting a school resource officer body slamming a 16-year-old Black Liberty High School student in Kissimmee, Florida has gone viral. Within the video, which begins with the slam, the student appears to be unconscious after being hurled to the ground. The officer, who is a sheriff's deputy, proceeds to handcuff the student as several classmates watch in shock. The incident reportedly began with the officer attempting to de-escalate a fight amongst students. We can go ahead and roll it. The Osceola County Sheriff's Department is investigating the matter to determine whether the officer followed protocol by using the minimal amount of force necessary to handle the situation. This is the video.
Oh! Oh! Oh my God!
Again, how black bodies are treated by school resource officers, Scott.
Yeah, you know, I always talk about control in these videos. Right before the body slam, he had her not in a headlock, but her arms behind her back. That's first thing. Secondly, for those few seconds before he body slammed her, she was not resisting. At least it didn't look like that. And then she went dead weight once he slammed her to the ground. And it clearly looks like he hit her head and it was a thud. Excessive force just on this video alone has got to be dealt with. These police officers in these school systems, they're not on the street. They're dealing with kids, right? So they broke up the fight. There was no fight. And then you've got the excessive force right there. They need to be fired, one. But two, that jurisdiction and that school needs to look at, right, who they're putting in the schools. Are they mentally prepared to deal with kids to de-escalate? But body slamming a young black woman, a 16-year-old, because you're breaking up a fight after the fight was broken up. She didn't have a weapon, and she certainly wasn't resisting. Completely uncalled for.
That's why I don't understand, Monique, that if you're breaking up, if you're trying to de-escalate a fight, I don't understand why you simply, if I'm a bigger guy and I'm dealing with a 16-year-old girl, I have the ability to simply extend my arm and say, and push somebody back or whatever.
Right.
But to go to extent, I'm going to body slam you and slap cuffs on you? Come on.
Yeah. And she was so small build, a young black girl. She was not a huge woman.
Monique?
It wouldn't have happened with a 50-year-old white woman. So it's not to me. I understand. I agree with everything that my brother Scott said, but it's not about what they were permitted to do, what would have been justified, what force was reasonable. They do not view us as human. Our black bodies are not of value or of worth. The manner in which they respond to us, whether we are fighting with each other, whether we are a threat by a slant eye, whether we are behind a wheel, it is all about what you can do with chattel, not what you can do with humans. And so the analysis is not about, in this instance, and I love the law, but it's not about the law, because they know the law and they're not applying it, because when they see my skin, they calibrate differently and think that whatever it is they're doing in that circumstance is okay. And that's what has to change.
Robert?
Well, you know, in cases like this, I always have a hypothetical that I put before juries, which is, imagine this girl in this case, instead of being a 16-year-old African-American, is a little white girl in a cheerleading outfit named Lily White. And if you saw a police officer body slam her and knock her unconscious, that would be the lead story on every single news agency right now around the country. There will be Nancy Grace will be down there, Laura Ingraham will be down there. They will be doing deep dives into this officer's background. But because it's just a black person, the overcriminalization of African Americans in this country continues until this day. Because when you dehumanize people, remember that was the entire point of the Three-Fifths Compromise. That was the entire point of chattel slavery, to dehumanize to the point where you do not need to give them any rights. You do not need to treat them as humans. This officer, that was a little white girl named Lily White in a cheerleading outfit. He would not have walked off of school property before being fired. There will be no need for an investigation. There will be no questions asked. There'll be they will have her on Good Morning America tomorrow morning crying with Robin Roberts. That's what happens, and that's the difference. I want people to, they always say we're playing the race card. Well, if you don't want people playing the race card, stop beating up black people. That's the easiest way around the situation. If you don't like to hear about racism, stop being racist. So we have to start, we have to take these cases seriously. We have to go after. And this is why this question of qualified immunity is so important, because that young woman should be able to bankrupt that cop. Not just bankrupt him now, take his house, take his car, take his pension, take his children's college fund, take his boat, take everything that this man has from now to the day he dies and for 2 generations after that. Because once you start doing that, then they have to start treating you as a human and with respect, and can't simply depend on the school district or the city to pay off their debts.
Yeah, and Roland, that's not the first video we've seen where the police have just kind of walked up and body slammed somebody. You have a video of an older kind of homeless man that was in a field talking to the police, and then the sergeant just got out of the car, walked up, wasn't part of the conversation, and just body slammed this brother, where he started crying and was asking, what did I do? What did I do? So it's not uncommon that that's that police move when you're standing there having a conversation, whether you're asserting your rights or not. It's just completely inappropriate. That standard of review that Kamala Harris's legislation has, instead of reasonable force, the standard of review, the federal standard of review, what it should be is necessary force. That force he used in that video was completely unnecessary.
And we certainly will see what the investigation reveals, which likely they will probably say, and we'll let them off. All right, folks, back to that Roland Martin Unfiltered video in just one moment.
It's time to be smart. When we control our institutions, we win. This is the most important news show on television of any racial background. Y'all put $2, $3, $4, $5, $10, $15, $20, $30 on this and keep this going. What you've done, Roland, since this crisis came out in full bloom. Anybody watching this, tell your friends. Go back and look at the last 2 weeks, especially of Roland Martin Unfiltered. I mean, hell, go back and look at the last 2 days. You've had sitting United States senators today, Klobuchar and Harris. Whatever you have that you can bring to Roland Martin Unfiltered to support it, please do, because this information may literally save your life.
Watch Roland Martin Unfiltered daily at 6 p.m. Eastern on YouTube, Facebook, or Periscope, or go to RolandUnfiltered.com. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered Daily Digital Show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Our goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing $50 each for the whole year. You can make this possible. RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real. As Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered Daily Digital Show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You can make this possible. The National Association of Black Journalists is calling for the immediate termination of 2 top CBS officials, the president of CBS stations, Peter Dunn, and his senior vice president of news, David Friend. These are their photos. Last night, NABJ held a meeting with top brass at CBS after an LA Times article was released Sunday morning detailing the racist and toxic work environment at the company, including racist misconduct by both Dunn and Friend. Now, after confirming the reports with members who work for the network, for the CBS owned and operated stations, NABJ ordered this release. I was a part of that phone call. I'm the vice president for digital for the National Association of Black Journalists, and we laid out that nothing can happen until Dunn and Friend are both fired. We're going to talk about this story now with Meg James. She's a staff writer for the Los Angeles Times who wrote this story in a moment. Folks, it is a shocking and stunning story that lays out a number of issues. Literally, according to the story, one of that Dunn argued that he did not like the jive talk. Dunn is there on the left. The jive talk of popular anchor Ukee Washington in Philadelphia. He is an institution in Philadelphia. He also complained that he danced too much on the air. He literally said that, folks, to officials there. Another disturbing story that really bothered us, is someone you've seen on this show, Brooke Thomas. Brooke Thomas was hired to be a morning anchor there at the CBS affiliate in Philadelphia. 2 days in to her tenure, Dunn was essentially saying, I want her off the air. They didn't like how she sounded. They didn't like how she looked. She had no idea why she was fired. It was very shocking and surprising to a lot of people why that happened. We know Brooke. We've had Brooke on our show on many times before. And again, folks, it was really a shocking and stunning story. And again, guys, let me know when we have Meg, because if you read this story, if you go to latimes.com, you can actually read the story. If you go to nabj.org, you can actually see our full statement and actually see the statement. In fact, pull up this NABJ statement. I'm going to read the full statement. Y'all should have that as a full screen graphic. Do we have it? Okay, I don't know why we don't have that as a graphic, folks. We should have that statement. So let me just pull it up on their website. This is important for everybody out here, because we understand how vital it is to have African Americans in these particular positions. We understand what happens. But when you have managers, white managers, who are literally freezing out African Americans, not just from appointments, but also from advancement, they're stunting their career growth. That's what they're doing. This is the statement here that we released. The National Association of Black Journalists met Sunday night with CBS officials regarding disturbing revelations and allegations from the LA Times about the racism and toxic work environment at the company. Specifically, the CBS television stations. Those stations operate leadership of president of CBS Station, David Friend, senior vice president of news for CBS stations, and VP at WCBS TV New York. Based on the racist comments held in the LA Times story, confirmed by two former CBS executives, NABJ is calling for the immediate termination of Dunn and Friend. The trouble issues raised in the story are not just confined to one TV station. NABJ has heard from numerous CBS employees across the country and has been made aware of multiple lawsuits and investigations. It is clear there is a massive problem among CBS-owned and operated stations, and in order for the company's culture to be transformed, it must begin with the firing of Dunn and Friend. The disturbing details that surface in LA Times are consistent with multiple workplace concerns currently expressed by CBS employees and brought the attention of NABJ and to CBS executives in two-person meetings in the last 18 months. Many of these employees have told us that they are afraid to speak about their concerns out of fear of retaliation from their bosses, including Dunn and Friend. Participants in the Sunday night meeting included NABJ Executive Director Drew B., Vice President Broadcast Ken Lemon, Vice President Digital Roland S. Martin, CEO of CBS Branded Assets George Cheeks, who heads the CBS Television Network, News and CBS TV stations, and Marva Small, Executive Vice President and Global Inclusion. NABJ President Dorothy Tucker has not been involved in any of these discussions with CBS because she is an employee of the company, and NABJ board policy prohibits anyone from taking part in discussions about their own company. Cheeks and Small agree with NABJ that there must be an external investigation and pledge to work with NABJ on a path forward. Now, there are a number of allegations that were in the story. We're going to talk with those in a second. But this was a quote here that came from Ken Lemon. First of all, this is what NABJ we understand. WCBS in New York has just one full-time black male reporter hired this year after going more than 5 years without one. WCBS in New York has just one black female full-time reporter. Mind y'all, this is New York City, where you have the largest group of black people in any city in America. WCBS, just one black manager that was promoted in February. KYW Philadelphia repeatedly passed over black freelance employees and gave full-time positions to other journalists. Since our statement. I have received phone calls from people across the country, and I've been told that there's not a single full-time black producer in Philadelphia. Philadelphia, y'all, not a single full-time black producer. That is unbelievable. Joining us right now is Meg James, staff writer for the LA Times, who wrote the story on this unbelievable story here. That is unbelievable. And so, Meg, you detailed in your story, and I've already said it, where Dunn made that called Yuki Washington just a jive guy, ridiculed his dancing. How Dunn and friend criticized the accent of Brooke Thomas, her work, a few days into her new assignment. They fired another black female anchor of Ethiopian origin because Dunn, quote, hated her face. And a complaint was filed by a former CBS manager with the Pennsylvania Human Relations Commission expressing discriminatory behavior through the instruction of others, including pay based on race, gender, and sexual orientation. This was stunning, this report. What stood out the most for you?
Well, thank you very much, Roland, for having me on. I think that, and I appreciate that NABJ is taking up this cause because it's a very important topic. And I think that CBS needs to recognize the value of its people and its stations, and also the importance of this matter.
It was to sit there and in your reporting, it was the charges were leveled by two former CBS execs who worked under Dunn and Friend. Are both of them suing CBS or just one of them?
I've talked to numerous people for the article. I talked to probably more than 25 people, and there was a consistent theme. I think one of the things that I found in my reporting is that unlike other TV station groups like NBC or ABC, the CBS station group is very centralized in New York. So that was one of the things that I found. The people who are on the record are former executives, although I spoke with many people who still work for the company, and those people obviously are afraid for their jobs, and so they were very tentative about me, using their names. So we wanted to make sure that the story included, very corroborated details, and those are the ones that that we included in the investigation.
And they corroborated racist comments being made regarding staffers, and they said themselves they were shocked to hear that coming from the mouths of these two white male executives.
Yes, that is correct. That they felt that this was no way to treat any individuals, and in Philadelphia in particularly, it was no way to treat this prominent anchor, Yuki Washington, the individual that you mentioned who ended up leaving CBS for CNBC, was not exactly fired, but what I was told was that they wouldn't, continue her contract. And and all of the people whom I spoke to, both on and off the record, and a lot of black journalists who spoke to me privately, said the same sort of things where they felt very undervalued, they felt like ornaments, and it's really a situation that I think CBS needs to look at seriously.
To see these comments, and the two executives who spoke on the record, one of them was a former news director, one, Kennedy was a general manager, am I correct?
Yes, that is correct.
They also this one anchor whose parents are immigrants from Ethiopia, where Dunn said he didn't like her face.
That is correct. It was appalling, and I found it heart-wrenching because these are people who are really good employees. They're really strong journalists, and to treat anybody this way, but the level of just personal attacks was really quite offensive.
Another thing in the particular story that I thought was interesting, where the general manager, Kennedy, when he arrived in Philadelphia, he said, we got a diversity problem. Not enough black people here. And then at one point, he had 2 black anchors who were on the air, and then he gets called and says, yeah, you do have a diversity problem. Essentially, what that executive was saying is, where are the white people?
Mm-hmm. No, that's true. And I think when the station manager, Brian Kennedy, who was one of the sources for my story, arrived at KYW in Philadelphia in 2015, he was struck that they had 2 white anchors from Little Rock, Arkansas. And Philadelphia is an area that has a lot of people who have lived there for decades. They grew up there, their parents live there. And he felt that, they needed greater diversity. They needed on, their air, but also they needed people from Philadelphia, and that was one of the things that he tried to do. So yes, I mean that was very eye-opening for me to see why would a station in such a large market be underplaying its very prominent anchors. And Yuki Washington is one of probably the best asset that anchor has. And he had been on the morning newscast for 19 years until 2015 when this new station manager arrived. Now, subsequently, the station manager was fired by Peter Dunn in 2019, and that's a case that I'm sure will be playing out, in the weeks, months, and years to come.
This is not the first time that CBS has had to deal with this here, with Reverend Jesse Jackson Sr. Was boycotting the CBS station WBBM in Chicago in 1986. That led to a major settlement. First of all, no, I'm sorry, in 2000, the company settled an $8 million EEOC case brought against them. But the issue that CBS faces isn't just that of racism. There's a lawsuit dealing with freelancers, and my understanding, I've talked to people, they reached out to us, more than 90% of those people, black and brown, in that particular lawsuit. They have other suits dealing with issue of pay equity, how folks are being paid different salaries based upon race and based upon gender. And so when you combine all of these things, what you're dealing with is a system-wide problem, where it's not just one station. It's not just Philadelphia. It's not just New York. My understanding, it is CBS owned and operated stations all across the country, because these 2 completely control who gets hired in these local markets.
Yes, and actually my reporting found that there was a case in Dallas, an EEOC case, and
It looks like we lost Meg's Skype there, and so folks, let me know when we have Meg back. I want to pull in Kelly and Mustafa. So look like we've lost your Skype. We'll get her right back. Kelly, this is the sort of thing that we have seen. Look, NABJ was founded 40 years ago in 1975. We've seen this. We've seen this constantly, over and over, and 45 years ago, I'm sorry, constantly over and over and over again. And this is the reality. We're talking about 2021 here. We're talking about what needs to be done. For folks who understand, George Cheeks, who runs all of CBS, is biracial. And so Marva Smalls, who heads diversity and inclusion for Viacom CBS, African-American woman. We had a very productive call with them last night, and we certainly want to see things change. But this is what people need to understand that black journalists face, where you can't say anything. If you sue, you are basically blackballed in the entire industry.
So this goes back to what you've been saying on your show for as long as I can remember, about us building our own networks, us building our own channels, and making sure that we're in leadership and things like that. While we still need to do that, I'm not going to discredit that at all. We can't excuse others, such as CBS, from blatantly violating EEOC guidelines and blatantly violating anti-harassment policies and anti-discrimination policies and straight up being bigot in leadership. We cannot excuse that. But CBS has a history of this that spans decades. I mean, we can go as far back, even further, but from what I recall, even Oprah dealt with racism under CBS leadership when she was in Baltimore. And that was one of the many reasons why she went to Chicago. So this is not a new thing. This is not a within the past 5 years thing. CBS has a rooted, steeped history in racism and discrimination that needs to be rooted out. So reports like this and initiatives such as what's happening right now within CBS in terms of flipping over leadership and making sure that these people are fired, that's a great start. But it is clearly a culture within the network. It is a culture within the corporation that needs to be rooted out. And steps like this, hiring more diverse leadership, hiring more Black people in their roles, and making sure that people are seen. That's a step in the right direction, but we definitely need, it is a situation in which a culture needs to be extracted out of the corporation.
We have Meg back. Meg, you were making a point before we got cut off.
I apologize for that.
It's all good.
I said that this is a problem that CBS needs to take seriously.
What was when you reached out to CBS, what was their reaction to your reporting?
I think that CBS took the reporting very seriously. We reached out early last week and we told them the extent of the allegations that we had. They were very responsive. I got, I think, 4 statements from CBS over the course of the next few days. We asked them to challenge any of the reporting. We told them that most of the stuff that we were using all had corroboration. It was either in an email. There were, notes from one of my sources provided me. I got to see her contemporaneous notes. And then there were also, second witnesses, eyewitnesses to some of these things.
You talked about this is what you wrote regarding Dunn describing Brooke Thomas. Quote, "It was just immediate screaming on the phone, not constructive criticism, just venom and profanity," Cronin said. He screamed, "Tell her to shut the, I'm assuming, F up." "I was flabbergasted," said Cronin, who kept her notes from that conversation, which the Times has examined. "I've never witnessed that type of behavior in the workplace." Friend followed up with an email also reviewed by the Times. Quote, "Can you please tell her to stop shouting, stop talking in a fake Southern accent, and stop sucking the air out of the show?" Kennedy separately described messages he received from Dunn. According to Kennedy, the first of several emails from Dunn began arriving one morning that week shortly after 4:30 a.m. when the newscast began. Kennedy said each message contained one word, unwatchable. Cronin and Kennedy were stunned. The new anchors had been on the air just 2 days.
The Brooke Thomas example really broke my heart. This was a young woman who moved across the country to take a job at KYW, and then after 2 days, they decided they didn't want her. They kept her on the air for another 6 months because they needed to line up another anchor. But, here this poor young woman was working really hard. No one found anything about her reporting, about her on-air delivery. She seems to be a beautiful, poised young woman. And then she was, just fired that fall and only given the excuse that it didn't seem to be working out. And I found her treatment to be among the worst. Then, what was she supposed to do? Go to other employers? And then they would always ask, well, why did you get fired from CBS? So I feel like her example really broke my heart, that she was treated in such a horrible manner.
Look, I agree. I know Brooke. I've talked to her on numerous occasions. We've had her on this show as well, and I know she's been trying to get a job in local news for the last 5 years and has not been able to do so. And I certainly hope that CBS makes amends with her, because what she's had to endure for the last 5 years across the country. My phone has been blowing up. I've been getting emails and tweets from people since our NABJ statement. Have you been getting emails and phone calls from CBS employees all across the country since your story got published at 5 a.m. on yesterday?
Yes, sir, I have. I've gotten quite a few new CBS sources. A lot of people who want to tell me about their treatment in stations, including Los Angeles and New York and elsewhere. This reporting followed up a story that I did almost, I guess, a little bit more than a year ago, just talking about the CBS station culture. And I think that one of the things that I hope comes out of this is that CBS recognize how important the stations are to the company. It's their face in the community, and that they need to treat people with respect.
It is certainly going to matter what happens next. Again, we made it clear. That we want to see an external investigation take place, very similar to the civil rights audits that were done at Facebook and Uber. We want that external investigation to be completely private because, as we explained, people are fearful of individuals responding, retaliating. That was one of the things that we also made clear. And so we're going to be working with officials with CBS to craft what that looks like. But we certainly want it to be something substantive, and not just CBS owned and operated stations. We're talking about the entire network. We're talking CBS owned and operated. We're talking CBS NewsPath. We're talking about CBS syndicated arm. We're talking about CBS News as well. Because when you have these sort of problems, it's not sort of confined and contained to one area. We want to ensure that it is completely eradicated across all levels of CBS. And I am very hopeful that George Cheek, who is now running them, will do this. And here's the deal: there's never been in the history of television an African American with the position of George Cheeks. This is the photo that you guys ran there in the Los Angeles Times. And I think, and again, based upon the people who I've talked to, he has been extremely receptive to making changes. I'm certainly hoping that we're going to see some significant changes made at CBS.
Thank you, Roland, for your work on this.
And I would assume that you have some additional stories that are going to be coming up. So we'll be looking forward to those stories. And as I said, I'm sure with your phone blowing up, you're sort of plotting a whole list of other stories because, again, this story does not end just with this. There's a lot more out there. And then it'd be great to see it. And it will be great to see these media reporters and these media sites pick up on this. Because I'll say this here, Meg. I think one of the other, this is my last point here, one of the other fundamental problems with this is that there's complicity. There's complicity among a lot of media writers who cover the media industry because they don't want to delve into this stuff. They'll deal with some other stuff, but they don't want to really delve into this stuff. And so your story is important because it is rare to see this amount of time and energy put into it unless somebody made some comment on the air or something along those lines because a lot of them are unwilling to touch issues of race. And I know some media folk have been upset with me today. I tweeted out to Brian Stetler at CNN, Alex Weprin at the Hollywood Reporter, others. I'm like, when are y'all going to at least retweet Meg's story? When are y'all going to at least retweet the NABJ statement?
Well, I appreciate that, and I also appreciate my editors at the LA Times who gave me about 3 months to pull together reporting that I'd been doing, and so I feel very grateful that they recognize the importance of this very important topic.
So for everybody who's watching, this is, I've seen people, Megan, a lot of people, they tell me, man, why are you asking people to join your fan club, subscribe to your show? Y'all, this is why local journalism matters. This is why, because if Meg did not have 3 months to do this story, you would not see this comprehensive story. That's why it matters. And so if you're in Los Angeles, you can subscribe anywhere around the country, the world, to the LA Times. But this is why it matters for us to subscribe, because that allows reporters to be able to do these things. And so, Meg, great job. We look forward to more work.
Thank you, Roland, and thank you for having me.
All right, thank you very much. Let me go back to Mustafa and Kelly. Mustafa, I want to get your thoughts on this. You heard what Meg had to say. And this is the kind of stuff that we talk about all the time that white journalists don't want to go. And I keep saying, y'all love talking about race with the Republican Party or something with a corporation. This happens in media. I said, and media is the last bastion because it is media that shines a light on this stuff. And then if folks are unwilling to deal with race in media, you can't deal with race in corporate America or race in politics or race in education or anything else.
It's extremely difficult for folks to put the mirror up to themselves or to their organizations because often they're not going to like what they see. And often many of the stories or narratives that they're highlighting, as you said, with others are playing out in their own respective organizations. These hostile work environments are tied, to the sexism and racism that has deep, deep roots in the media. And the media is one of our most powerful things that happen inside of our lives, whether it's on radio or television or now digital. It frames the conversation. It talks about where we are or where we're not. This is just critical because when I was thinking about the sister who for 5 years now hasn't been able to get another job, this stuff plays out both mentally and physically on individuals, and it also sends messages to folks. So I'm glad that they're going to do the, this investigation, or I hope that they follow the recommendations that you all put forward for them to get serious about the investigation. And I'll just leave it with this. If you want to have a 21st century organization, you've got to have executives who are willing to go there. And if they won't go there, they got to go.
All right, folks, back to our Roland Martin Unfiltered video in just one moment.
It's time to be smart. When we control our institutions, we win. This is the most important news show on television of any racial background. Y'all put $2, $3, $4, $5, $10, $15, $20, $30 on this and keep this going. What you've done, Roland, since this crisis came out in full bloom. Anybody watching this, tell your friends. Go back and look at the last 2 weeks, especially of Roland Martin Unfiltered. I mean, hell, go back and look at the last 2 days. You've had sitting United States senators today, Klobuchar and Harris. Whatever you have, you can bring to Roland Martin Unfiltered to support it. Please do, because this information may literally save your life.
Watch Roland Martin Unfiltered daily at 6 p.m. Eastern on YouTube, Facebook, or Periscope, or go to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered Daily Digital Show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Our goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing $50 each for the whole year. You can make this possible. RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real. As Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered Daily Digital Show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You can make this possible. One of the things that we also talk about on this show, we talk about money, and we talk about, again, the importance of money. Yesterday, President Joe Biden unveiled one of his executive orders dealt with the issue dealing with racial equity. And we talk about racial equity. We got to do what we're talking about, money. Susan Rice also spoke about that in terms of mandating all of the federal agencies be focused on that very issue of equity, putting that at the forefront. Now, I've told you all about this, and I just want to give you all, again, how we're going to start breaking this thing down. One of the things that we're going to do here on Roland Martin Unfiltered, we're going to be looking at this issue of equity from multiple departments and showing you where your tax dollars are going. Now, the other day, I had a 45-minute conversation with Joe Anthony, who is suing DDB over him helping them get a $4 billion contract with the U.S. Army. A 10-year contract, $4 billion. It's $400 million a year. Now, I told you the amount of money that the federal government spends every single year when it comes to media advertising and how we are locked out. Well, when I was talking to Joe, I referenced a 2018 report that was commissioned by Congresswoman Eleanor Holmes Norton by the Government Accountability Office. The NNPA, the National Newspaper Publishers Association, or the Black Press of America, asked her to put this together so they can have a real accounting of how much federal money, your tax dollars, are being spent and where is it going. That GAO report revealed federal agencies spend very little advertising with black and other minority-owned businesses. According to their report, between 2013 and 2018, federal government agencies spent $5 billion on advertising. Let me repeat that for y'all. $5 billion in 5 years. 327 million went to minority-owned media companies. 51 million of the 327 million went to black media. So again, 5 billion, 327 million going to minorities, 51 billion of the 5 billion going to black folks, 1%. Congresswoman Norton says she would work with black and minority publishers to press her colleagues in Congress to demand greater spending on minority-owned outlets to reach minority audiences that most traditional outlets do not. The question is, has that been happening? Joining us right now is Dr. Ben Chavis. He's the president and CEO of the National Newspaper Publishers Association. Being glad to have you back on Roland Martin Unfiltered. You cannot have a growing media entity if you don't get advertising money. Pure and simple. That is the lifeblood of every media operation. Fox News profits $1 billion+ a year. CNN, some 700 million. MSNBC, 600-700 million. That's profit. They make way more than that. But the reality is, when you start talking about black media, it ain't even close to that because we've been frozen out. This GAO report was important. What has happened in the last 2 years with us starting just now in 2021?
Thank you. Roland, this is a very important issue for all black-owned media. And certainly, it's a good thing that President Biden now has put as a priority the question of equity. And once he signs these executive orders, which he has, the question now is, how are these executive orders to be implemented? Who's going to ride herd? I understand that Ambassador Susan Rice has been given a responsibility to have interagency oversight. The federal government in 2021 is still the largest single advertiser, over $1 billion. And a lot of that money does not go to black-owned media. So what needs to happen is there needs to be further legislation. Eleanor Holmes Norton's bill was the start to get the study done. Now, after the study has been done, which we always knew these inequities were there, Roland, your last segment was about white terrorism. Well, look, white supremacy has also been in government spending. The denial of black-owned media to be in the advertising budgets keeps our media houses almost in a form of neo-slavery, oppression. And so that needs to be overcome. So I think that while we have a new administration, the Biden-Harris administration, black media now, we must press this course. Because if there's ever a time that we need to get equity, and equity goes beyond equality. Equity is a financial term that means that there will be equal sharing, equitable sharing in the distribution of resources. And right now, there's a long history of the inequities, the long history of the denial of black-owned businesses, in this case, black media business, from getting into the federal budgets of all the agencies. Yeah, if we had fairness, you know, we are almost 14-15% of the population. Rather than 1%, if we got 15% of federal dollars spending on black media, it would make a difference, a life-supporting difference and sustainability difference for all black-owned media in America.
Well, hell, if black media got just 10% of the $1 billion annually, you're talking about going from a total of 51 million. First of all, 50. Remember, that's 50. To everybody understand, that's 51 million out of the 5 billion, which really means that broke down to about 10 million a year. So you're talking about if you go from 10 million a year to 100 million a year, that's significant. And that's just 10%. But Ben, the thing here that I want to know is that was dropped in 2018. What happened in 2019, 2020? Was there any improvement? Did you see any improvement?
No, we did not see an improvement. In fact, during the Trump administration, there was a denial of what Congress Eleanor Holmes Norton's bill exposed. And so now we have to go back and repress this course now that we have a change in administration. I think the OMB, the Department of Treasury, the Department of Commerce, all these things have to be readdressed, and we got to keep the pressure on. I think everybody is celebrating the new administration, but our celebration now must be translated into concrete, equitable distribution of resources. And again, this is not, we're not asking for charity, Roland. This is business. This is one-on-one business.
No. Let's be clear. This is taxpayer money. Black people's money, too.
That's right. We pay taxes, but the distribution of the taxes do not come back to our community. Plus, spending. African Americans spend over $1 trillion in the American economy every year, but very little of that money is turned back into our communities.
But I think I think also what we have to do is this is actually a multi-level approach, which is what I was talking to Joe Anthony about the other night, and that is what really happens here is first, the people who get the advertising contracts are the white advertising agencies.
Agencies, that's right.
What the federal government then does, gives them complete control over the dollars. So you don't have any real oversight or demands for how they should operate. So then what happens is these white ad agencies then screw the black ad agencies, don't even consider them to be partners when it comes to distributing the money to black media. And as you know, if black ad agency is frozen out, we ain't getting anything. I can tell you, as somebody who has participated, I have participated in the past 6 months on several phone calls with major white ad agencies. And in the conversations, you can hear them ask the questions in order for them to set you up for them to be able to say, no, we're not going to give you any money. In fact, Congressman Stephen Horsford said on this show and said that Young and Rubicam told him when it came to the census money, they were not going to buy any ads in any newspaper, 50,000 circulation or less. Ben, that's 98% of black newspapers in America.
Exactly. Well, again, it's institutionalized racism. I mean, put it like you said, Roland, it's institutionalized white supremacy racism. It's institutionalized white supremacy inequities. And so President Biden and Vice President Harris, they're going to be challenged, not only by these white supremacists that are going crazy in the street level, but white supremacy is also in public policy making. White supremacy is also in the regulatory agencies. And these advertising agencies that you mentioned, why do they keep getting all of the federal contracts? And that needs to be looked at, because these ad agencies are a fundamental part of the problem.
And so, again, I need for the people at home, because one of the reasons why I'm purposely doing this, I'm going to bring my panel in just a second, and they have questions for you as well, Ben. I'm trying to walk our people through this because I think a big part of this is that our folk don't know. And when I say our folks, I don't just mean the people who are watching. I'm telling you right now, city council members don't know this. County commissioners, state legislators, our CBC members don't know. They go out and they fight for the additional money to be placed in the budgets, but then don't understand what happens once the money is allocated and then how they freeze us out. They don't understand how what some of these white ad agencies will do is go out, hire them 2 Negroes, I'm saying that for a reason, give them a $60,000 or $70,000 consulting contract. Those 2 Negroes are happy, they got them a consulting contract without realizing that they really are screwing the black ad agency out of $30, $40, $50, $60 million. So you took $70 million, you took $70,000 or $100,000 or $200,000 for a consulting contract when, dumbass, you could have got $50 million. Because if you do the numbers, let's take the U.S. Census. Y&R had access to $350 million. Y&R gets the contract. Y&R takes their 15% off the top, Y'all, do the math. That's $42.5 million. Then they assign it to another agency that they own. Then they get their cut. Then they assign to another agency that they own to handle the digital, the print, and the broadcast. They all getting cut. So the $350 million, by the time it gets down to being spent, hell, they already took $100 million.
So Roland, that we need to call them out. But your point about the lack of information and facts steadily, consistently, on a daily basis going to the black community, that's a great point. What I think we should work together, Roland, we need to come out with an equity report card on all the ad agencies, on all the federal agencies, anybody dealing with advertising dollars in the government sector, not on the federal level, state level, municipal level, and county levels. I'm telling you, African-American owned businesses, particularly black-owned media businesses, are being robbed every day because of these inequities.
So, again, for everybody who's watching at home, I'm trying to connect the dots here so people understand what we are dealing with. And what we're dealing with right now is how the system is set up. And then what they then do is they then begin to look into the loopholes, then how to freeze people out. I have called for the Congressional Black Caucus to demand an audit of Young and Rubicam to know where every single media dollar went to go for the United States Census. Every single dollar. And I don't want groupings. I don't want groupings of this is how much minority media got. No. I want to know specifically, here were the media outlets. I want to see who got the most to who got the least. And then I want to see who they identify as black-owned media. Because again, to me, the audit needs to be black. It needs to be minority media. It needs to be black-targeted media, then black-owned media, in order to get a real assessment. And again, don't put MWBE. Don't put white women in this. To me, in order for you to do it right, you got to break the numbers down. And I've been in contact with the Congressional Black Caucus about this because, again, we got to fight the main advertising agencies. But there's no way in hell government agencies should be practicing racism, what you're seeing in private industry. And so that means targeting the federal government, targeting these state governments, these county governments, these city governments, going after each one. And then there should be congressional hearings on Capitol Hill of these ad agencies and how they are screwing over black media.
Absolutely. If there's ever was a strategic time to do what you just said, Roland Martin, it is now. We need to do it now. We don't need to be reactive. We need to be proactive. And we need to, as we say in North Carolina, we need to pull the sheets off these people.
Let's go, Scott Bolden, you represent NNPA. You do work with them on a legal basis. Your thoughts on this issue? I mean, we're talking millions and millions of dollars, and this is the reason right here black media can't grow. This is the reason right here why we don't have newsrooms of 50 and 75 and 100 employees, because, hell, if you don't get the advertising money, you can't hire nobody and build capacity. Mute button, Scott. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm here.
No, they had your audio down. Go ahead.
Okay. Dr. Chair, it's good seeing you. You know, most of our businesses are going to probably be reluctant to take on the ad agencies vis-a-vis private sector, because what Roland just laid out was, you know, they want their piece of the pie too.
But they ain't getting nothing.
You're right. But in their mentality, 50 million, they say, I can't get 50 million, but I can get my 10,000, I can get my 25,000. So Dr. Chavis, my question to you is, in partnering with NABJ and other organizations and going to the Hill to advocate, and I know you do that every year for NNPA, who are your angel investors in the House and Senate and in the White House? Who carries that fight for us against the federal government as you represent the NNPA, and obviously NABJ is out there as well? Who are your angel investors on the Hill that can take this fight and see it through to the end?
Well, Congresswoman Maxine Waters is chair of the Finance Committee. We've had some discussions about this. She has oversight over all the banking and the financial services institutions that also don't advertise with black-owned media. So Congresswoman Maxine Waters is one. But I would also say now, because of the announcement this week by President Biden that Ambassador Susan Rice certainly needs to be called upon. We need to meet with her like ASAP to make sure that her responsibility now to provide oversight over all of the federal government. They like to use this term, a whole of government approach. Well, we need a whole of government approach from the White House to members of Congress, but also we need NAPA, the NABJ, and other black-owned media organizations to press this course. Now's the time to do it.
Well, look,
just legislation or a reg that says 20% of that $1 billion needs to go to black media. Isn't that just the more simple answer?
Well, again, getting those formulas, getting those policies in place. We've just witnessed 4 years of triage, 4 years of denial. If anything, the last 4 years, the Trump administration did everything they could to put black people out of business, rather than in business. And so now we have to recover not only from the coronavirus, but we have to recover from systemic white racism, terrorism, both on the streets and in the pocketbooks of black-owned businesses.
Robert Patillo.
One of the things that we've seen this year in particular is the need to address black audiences. During the campaigns, there was a special effort made to target black folks, and in many ways that was brought Democrats across the finish line. As we're rolling out the coronavirus vaccine, there's been a great emphasis on communicating with black communities. The military each year is one of the largest advertisers in the country, and they're more than happy to recruit black and brown people for the military, but they aren't spending that money in with black and brown media outlets. What can be done legislatively? What can be done, put into law that will not violate any, what the model legislation out there that would address these issues? Because simply put, this is a line item in a budget issue that could pass very easily. But where's the legislation at, and who's pushing that legislation?
1 second. So before you go there, let me unpack this here. There were people who were patting themselves on their backs about the amount of money that was being spent on black media. But let me be perfectly clear, it simply was wholly inadequate. Now, you're talking to somebody who did get money from the Biden campaign, Ossoff and Warnock campaign, the DSCCC. Was it what it should have been? Hell no. Now, why am I saying that? Because, let me be real clear, political dollars, just like other folk, they expect us to take crumbs, as opposed to appreciating what we actually bring to the table. Now, when folk get in trouble, then all of a sudden they respect us, and then they want to come as the last second. And so what I'm talking about here, because I dealt with the same thing dealing with the DSCCC. We were on a phone call with the white ad buyers, and they sitting here with what are your metrics, what are your numbers, all this sort of stuff along those lines, and they were not treating us being like a media company. They were treating us like a specialty, like you a celebrity. I'm like, no. Talk to me like you talk to CNN. Talk to me like you talk to Fox News and all the Atlanta radio stations and TV stations who got paid. And so it's all of that. See, Ben, if we put the federal government on notice, private industry will be on notice. Political parties will be on notice. That's why it's important to get them to act right, because the argument we can make is that's tax dollars y'all are screwing us out of.
Absolutely. Everybody knows the power of the black vote. Biden would not be president. Kamala Harris would not be vice president. The brothers and the election that took place in Georgia would not have happened without the black vote. In fact, the Democratic Party would not be leading the House, the Senate, and the White House if it were not for the black vote. The question is, why do we have to now beg the people who we put in office to treat us right? That's what's at stake. It is not only a question of equity. It's also a question of integrity. It's a question of reciprocity. It's a question of respect. And we are going to press this course like never before.
You know, I get a kick, Monique, out of stuck on stupid people who, one, think they know what we're talking about as if we don't know it, as if we ain't been living this. I mean, you know, I've only been doing media for 38 years. I mean, that's it, just only. You know, then somebody put study CNN, ABC, NBC as a model for international growth. Your ass can't go international if you can't be national, Thomas. See, I mean, stop saying stupid stuff, okay? I can't, how in the hell am I going to go across the pond if I can't even go across town?
That's right.
Wait, was his name really Thomas?
This, I mean, no, I mean, but see, and again, but people don't understand, okay? You do not have a dedicated individual who covers Congress for black media because we can't afford the extra staff. This is a numbers game. Look, I got 12 people who work for me. Do you know a bunch of black newspapers ain't got 12 people? And again, it's capacity. If you're not getting the dollars, you can't hire people. You can't hire people, you can't cover stuff. You can't cover what's happening in your city, you sure as hell can't cover the state. You can't cover the nation, and you can't cover the world.
Okay, yes. Is it my turn?
Yes, go.
All right, I'm ready. So from last night, and thank you, Roland, just in the middle of the night, the wee hours of the morning, coming onto my live, but I want to continue that conversation because I was talking about this word equity and the difference between equity and equality and how grateful I am for this current administration that understands that it's not just nomenclature. And where I guess I would disagree, I'm not going to disagree with Dr. Chavis. I love you, Dr. Chavis, God bless you, but the rest of y'all. The way that I'm going to disagree is it's not just money. Because when we look at the difference between equality and equity, and then if I dare go from equity to justice, what I'm saying is equality is everybody gets the same thing. You get 3 apples, you get 3 apples, you get 3 apples, you get 3 apples. It's too late for the United States with that because we have slavery in the vestiges of it. We have discrimination in the vestiges of it. We have Jim Crow in the vestiges of it. We have redlining in the vestiges of it. We have inadequate school systems in the vestiges of it. So we're living in what could have been equal 3 centuries ago, but no. All right. And so we got to get to equity. And that's where President Biden and Vice President Harris, thank you, Black woman winning, and the administration, they're saying, but it's equity because equal doesn't matter if one person only has 1 arm and the other person has 2. So what we got to do now is we got to give ladders. We got to give extra funds. We have to give incentives. We have to make ways so that the result, the outcome is equal. And I'm thankful that they understand that difference. GW, George Washington University, I think it's their Milken Institute. They have a great study on this of equality versus equity. What is the difference? What does it mean? Why is it important for disenfranchised people? So I would encourage you all to go and look that up right now. I will give you the website, but Roland get mad at me if I look at my phone.
Mm-hmm.
So
Ben, go ahead.
Look that up. But but here's the thing. They go further and they say equal is you get a ladder, you get a ladder. My tree has a lot of apples on my side. We on the same tree. Your side is barren. Equity is I've got a ladder, you've got a ladder. I've got some apples, you got a few apples. We're helping you reach a little bit higher so you can get to some of my apples. Justice.
All right. Monique, you're repeating yourself now. You get like Scott. You get like Scott.
But that sounds like equitable.
You get like Scott. Hold on. Ben, respond. I got it, Monique. Ben, respond. Ben, respond.
I think that we should not get hung up in the semantics of the difference between equity and equality and empowerment. We need all 3.
It's not semantics.
And I think that we have to press the course. There's no difference of opinion. The question is, what are we going to do about it? we have a problem. And this problem is a serious systematic problem. And we need to work together to address this problem. Listen, I don't think we should be accepting any inequality. I don't think we should be accepting any inequity. And I don't think we should accept anything that's not going to give us the capacity to empower ourselves, to build our businesses, and raise our communities out of poverty. White benevolence is not going to do it. And that is why I think that we have to demand from a business perspective how to engage these new policies. I think the policy articulation by the Biden-Harris administration is great. The question now is how it will be implemented and what will be the results, not 4 years from now, but now. Our problems are so severe in Black America, we do not have time to have more studies. We know the problem. Now's the time for us to get action. And that is why reparations is just not about money. Reparations is about repairing the damage. And the damage is systematic when it comes to Black-owned businesses.
Look, for me, this is real simple. I keep it real simple. Short term, the amount of money they're spending on COVID, how much money is going to Black media when it comes to outreach and when it comes to the vaccine? That's first. That's what I want to know right now. Second thing, I want to audit on the census money because they're still dealing with that, where that money is going. Is there any money left? Thirdly, the CBC should say there should be a complete audit of every single federal agency to know, look at every single contract right now, what advertising agency has the contract, and what Black ad agencies are those white ad agencies partnering with, and what Black media are getting dollars from those existing ad agencies. And so that's what should happen. And so, Ben, I don't know who y'all have with NMPA working on that. We can certainly work together on that, but we have to put that information out and expose it, because if people aren't armed with information, then they don't have it. And I dare say Scott's law firm should be looking at filing a significant lawsuit against the advertising industry for their systematic exclusion of Black folks. But that's, Scott, something you can work on. And I'm sure Rainbow Push want to be involved in it as well. And since Monique here, I'm sure she can help Scott as well. So everybody on this panel can go to work.
Then what you gonna do? What you gonna do?
Easy. I just gave you the damn plan. See, clearly, clearly, Scott, you know nothing about the Bible. When Nehemiah surveyed the wall and there was damage, and then he came up with a plan of action, and then he went to the people. The Bible says the people said, "Let us rebuild." See, Doc Taylor, he don't know nothing about that, Doc. He ain't read Nehemiah. He don't know.
But look, one good thing I can say about Scott Boland, he's the general counsel for the National Newspaper Publishers Association. And the reason why we chose him, we are going to have to take legal action. We're also going to have to do extra legal action. But I think the audit, because see, the thing is, Roland, there have been studies, and so the data is there. The question is now, it's time for action by these federal agencies. And of course, we're going to meet with the Congressional Black Caucus, absolutely, as you recommended. And we're going to meet with the White House. We're going to meet with Susan Rice. I think we need a whole of a government approach to make sure that we don't get triage this time. What happened with the United States Census was terrible. The way they treated the Carl Williams agent, which was the only Black agent, she was a subcontractor. They never contracted with Black-owned ad agencies. They did it with the white agency, and that's why Black-owned media did not get a fair share of those advertising dollars. That only happens every 10 years with the U.S. Census.
Dr. Chambers, if I may, Roland, if I may.
30 seconds.
The attack has to also go to the agency. So when that bid comes out, we're not accepting subcontracts. We need to be a direct contractor. And the way the bid is written has to be looked at. And then you can contest that bid through a bid protest so that we get more direct contract versus subcontract.
Yes, and I'm saying that's what your law firm is there for. Ben Chambers, I appreciate it. Thanks a lot, man. We're going to keep this thing going. In the words of that financial wizard, Frank Lucas, the gangster, I'm going to get that money.
It's right on TV, right? You just said it, just like that.
He said it. All right. Denzel in the movie. I'm going to get that money. Ben Chambers, I appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Like you went to Texas A&M.
All right, stop talking, Scott. Thanks, Ben. I appreciate it.
Show.
Scott, will you be quiet? Every Wednesday, I got to do this. Robert and Monique know how to be quiet when I'm trying to end a segment. Thanks, Ben. I appreciate it. All right, y'all. All right, folks, back to our Roland Martin Unfiltered video in just one moment.
It's time to be smart. When we control our institutions, we win. This is the most important news show on television of any racial background. Y'all put $2, $3, $4, $5, $10, $15, $20, $30 on this and keep this going. What you've done, Roland, since this crisis came out in full bloom. Anybody watching this, tell your friends. Go back and look at the last 2 weeks, especially of Roland Martin Unfiltered. I mean, hell, go back and look at the last 2 days. You've had sitting United States senators today, Klobuchar and Harris. Whatever you have that you can bring to Roland Martin Unfiltered to support it, please do, because this information may literally save your life.
Watch Roland Martin Unfiltered daily at 6 p.m. Eastern on YouTube, Facebook, Periscope, or go to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered Daily Digital Show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Our goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing $50 each for the whole year. You can make this possible. RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real as Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered Daily Digital Show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Our goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing $50 each for the whole year. You can make this possible. RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Folks, we've known her for a long time, watching her as a child actress. Joining us right now is actress Kim Fields. Kim, welcome to Roland Martin Unfiltered.
Hey, brother. Thank you so much. I hate that I'm joining you for this, but I'm glad to be joining you to celebrate. Amen?
Absolutely, absolutely. I was just talking about when you were in the same room with someone like Cicely Tyson. You are in the presence of royalty.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The first 2 words that I could think of, and actually, I heard from you that this light has transcended, is how I'll put it. But when I heard it from you, the first 2 words I could think of was all hail. All hail. And then the next 2 words, bow down.
The thing that I for you as a black female actress, what does Cicely Tyson mean? I mean, I see how brothers, I see how when Denzel and Sam and Chadwick and Michael B. Jordan, when they talk about Sidney Poitier.
Yeah.
Talk about it, what she meant for sisters.
Sure, absolutely. I mean, you know, you're going to hear the words a lot. Groundbreaking, trailblazer, but it's truly authentic when you place those monikers on Cicely Tyson. You know, about 2 hours ago, I was doing an interview for People magazine regarding the passing of Cloris Leachman. And one of the things that I said, because we had worked together for a couple of years, was that she was very fearless. And I was a fan long before I'd gotten a chance to work with her. But I think I would also apply that in 100-fold to Cicely Tyson, that element of being fearless and matchless in her fearlessness. And you had to have a certain grit and grace to forge the path that she was blessed to forge, when it didn't always seem like a blessing to forge that path.
That was just the other day, somebody had posted, there was an article that was done where a New York Times writer had written that about Cicely Tyson, that she wasn't that basically she wasn't good looking. It was something along those lines. And folks are like, how the hell did that even get in print? Right. This was a sister who was the polar opposite of Alina Horn. This was a short, small, dark-skinned sister with a gap in her teeth, and I mean, like all those things. And so forget just being a black woman. How
Right.
Hollywood? Oh no, this is not how we want to view a black woman. Because look, they kicked out Dorothy Dandridge. Again, that was sort of this model for what they wanted. And if you were a dark-skinned sister, you had to be basically the maid.
Exactly.
So you got to put all that on top of what she also had to endure.
Absolutely. Well, you know, it's one thing to endure it, but then to endure it publicly, to endure it in the face of all that, the culture and that we were going through as a people, not to mention her own generation. You know, so she was forged in fire in a number of areas, in a number of ways, in my opinion. And I love, like, her Blair was just telling me that her book just came out, and
2 days ago.
Yes. And so he was saying how he was so glad she was able to see it and to talk about it and to share and to pass everything down and to have so many gems and takeaways. He was so thrilled about all that. But here's the thing for me was the cover of her book is so striking. And of all the pictures, because we will see thousands of photographs of Cicely Tyson today and in the days to come. I love that she chose that as her cover, because that's so indicative of her beauty and her uniqueness and her strength and her power. And I'm not going the way of everybody else. I march to the beat of my own drum, you know, and people talk so much about having a seat at the table. And to me, Cicely Tyson made the table, made her chair, and looked at you funny if you just rolled up on that table without her allowing it.
Kim Fields, actually the article I was talking about, they were referring to Shirley Chisholm and not Cicely Tyson. But the reality is we know how Hollywood operates in Cicely Tyson. So I can't wait to read her book where she really just lays bare what she had to deal with as well.
Sure. But like you just said, though, Roland, the fact that she yes, you were talking about Shirley Chisholm in that article, but that still was a part of Cicely Tyson's journey and how she was regarded in a medium, in an industry that is so very visual. And at a time when all of these other what society was deeming as beauty, and she would not back down. She would not change who she was from the outside in, nor from the inside out.
Kim Fields, I appreciate you sharing your thoughts with us on such short notice regarding the great Cicely Tyson.
Thanks, bro.
Appreciate it. Thank you so very much.
Yeah.
Every single night, we've got some of the top black experts. You're not going to see them on cable news or broadcast news because you swear black people aren't experts when it comes to this health crisis. That's why we have this show and why we do what we do every day on Roland Martin Unfiltered. Joining us right now is retired General Russell Honore, the nation's first black Surgeon General, Dr. Joycelyn Elders. John Hope Bryant, he is the founder of Operation Hope. Senator Kamala Harris of California, Dr. Sadrina Calder, retired General Lloyd Austin, Congresswoman Karen Bass, Commissioner Omari Hardick, Bureau President in Brooklyn, Eric Adams, Dr. Joseph Graves, America's Wealth Coach, Deborah Owens, Dr. Corey Abear, Patal Saul, Howard University student, Pastor Jamal Bryant, Dr. Christy McDowell, Benja Ajilore, senior economist at the Center for American Progress, Gilda Daniels, again, author of the book, The Crisis of Voter Suppression in America. 4 stars, General Kip Ward. Dr. Oliver Brooks is president of the National Medical Association, president of the American Medical Association, Dr. Patrice Harris. Joby Benjamin, Dr. Alexia Gaffney, infectious disease specialist, Dr. Georges Benjamin, executive director of the American Public Health Association, Malcolm Nance, family medicine physician, Dr. Jen Caudle, Dr. Tashaka Cunningham, a molecular biologist, Kat Stafford. She's a national race and ethnicity reporter for the Associated Press. Dr. Wayne A.I. Frederick, who is the president of Howard University, Congresswoman Yvette Clarke from the state of New York, William Spriggs, AFL-CIO economist, Andrea James, Executive Director of the National Council for Incarcerated and Formerly Incarcerated Women and Girls. All right, let's go to Capitol Hill. Congressman Gregory Meeks, Congresswoman Eddie Bernice Johnson of Texas, Congresswoman Barbara Lee, Minnesota Senator Amy Klobuchar, mental health clinician Jamie Singletary, Prince George's County State's Attorney Aisha Braveboy, as well as Dylan Hayrie, ACLU Justice Division strategist. Dr. Cindy Duke, she is a virologist. Principal Steve Perry of Capitol Prep. Health and wellness specialist Dr. Yolanda Hancock. Desmond Meade, president of the Florida Rights Restoration Coalition. Cliff Albright, who is the co-founder of Black Voters Matter. Michael Harriot with The Root. Mina McWhorter, founder of Love by the Hand. Dr. Julianne Malveaux, economist, president, Emerita of Bennett College. Coroner Michael Fowler is the mayor of Atlanta. Keisha Lance Bottoms, mental health therapist Suzette Clark. Justin Gibney, attorney and political strategist, and Bishop Vincent Matthews Jr. Dr. Suzette McKinney, CEO and executive director of the Illinois Medical District. Dr. Leon McDougall, president-elect of the National Medical Association. Jana Bailey, mayor of Moss Point, Mississippi. Mario King. We're going to keep driving this thing to make sure our people are fully aware, safe, protected from coronavirus. You getting the top medical experts, top business experts, top political experts, top religious experts, because that's why we do what we do. Unapologetically and unfiltered. Ain't nobody else in the black media space doing what we do. Watch Roland Martin Unfiltered daily at 6 p.m. Eastern on YouTube, Facebook, or Periscope, or go to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered Daily Digital Show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Our goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing $50 each for the whole year. You can make this possible. RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real. As Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered Daily Digital Show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You can make this possible. The House Democrats have elected their leadership. There are no black women. I'm sorry. You don't have Democrats in charge without the power of black women voters. What is the CBC saying or doing about this?
So what's the reality is since 1977, 44 years ago, was the last time a black woman was elected to leadership in our caucus. And the election was for Shirley Chisholm. So think about that. In 44 years, and it hasn't been that black women haven't run. Every cycle, there's a black woman on the ballot. But when the votes are taken, the black woman never rises to the success of winning an election. And I stood before them and said, you know, there's a time when you have to take a look at yourself in the mirror and ask the question. There is no black woman that is deserving of leadership. We must step up and do the right thing. And I applaud Nancy Pelosi because she has at various times appointed black women to positions of leadership. But had she not done that, we would have no one.
So what are the actual positions? What are the actual positions here? We're talking about obviously Speaker of the House. We're talking about Majority Leader. We're talking about the whip position, head of the House Democratic Caucus. For folks who don't know, how many slots are there when it comes to the House Democrat Leadership Conference?
There's about 10 of them, 12 of them. So you have people who represent us in the media. They're called the DPCC. You have the 5 terms or less representative, which is what I was running for. You have the caucus chair. You have the Democratic vice chair. You have the leadership that represents us in the DNC. And these positions all come up for positions of leadership. So Terry Sewell, who is just a brilliant mind, has ran and didn't make it. The woman who now is doing the impeachment, she's an impeachment manager, and that is the amazing Plaskett, the representative from the Virgin Islands. We had, my goodness, Barbara Lee ran. You had Robin Kelly, who has run. So these are women who are accomplished that I know very well. And then when they stand up to be counted, there's always that comes up short. And I want our caucus to stand up and look themselves in the mirror and say, what is going on here? You know, I can't blame you or call you a name, but I can definitely identify the behavior and the results of what's happening.
And obviously, look, I mean, I think with the numbers the CBC has, this is where folks withhold those votes because the CBC has the largest caucus among the Democrats. It's a slim majority. If they don't have the votes of black women members of the Congress, bills can't get passed. And so what's the plan to fix this? What's the plan to actually make this happen, to put a black woman in leadership position?
So we as the Black Caucus have talked, and the next round, when the next Congress comes, we're going to have a full court press to elect a black woman to be in leadership. And we are serious about this. And we don't need just the women. We need the black men, and we need all of us. We're so proud of Hakeem Jeffrey. We're proud of the other black men, our amazing leader for the Black Caucus in Clyburn. We have had a Nagoose, who is a new member, elected. And so we have black men who are being put into the position of leadership. We're saying now it's time for black women.
All right, Congresswoman Brenda Lawrence, we certainly appreciate it. Thank you so very much for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And be blessed and stay safe.
Absolutely. All right, folks, let's go to my panel to talk about this here. We're still waiting for those impeachment documents to be walked over to the United States Senate. So let's go ahead. Joining me right now is Kelly Bethea, communication strategist. Kelly, glad to have you here. And Mustafa Santiago Ali, a former official with the EPA Environmental Justice Division. Let's start with you. Kelly, it kind of makes sense. It ain't that hard to figure out how in the hell you have 10, 12 positions and there are no black women. Again, who is the backbone of the Democratic Party? Black women. Who votes for Democrats at a higher rate than any other group? Black women. Who voted for President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris at a higher rate than any other group in America? Black women. Kind of makes sense they should have some representation among the House Democrat Leadership Conference.
Not only does it make sense, it is incredibly disappointing and frankly insulting that no black woman has been elected to any position in the House in almost 45 years. I think she said 44 years. There is no Democratic Party as it stands right now, frankly, without black women. And this is just yet another example of the Democratic Party taking black women for granted. You cannot expect us to, quote unquote, fall in line and get with the agenda that is whatever the Democrat in the House want to do if you continuously exploit a black woman's power, expertise, loyalty, and most importantly, work ethic. It is not going to stand anymore. I'm not saying that the black people who are in leadership aren't qualified, but you can't tell me that there are no black women in Congress in the past 40-something years that aren't qualified. So this goes to show just how deep and rooted misogyny and sexism is across the board, even in the most quote unquote liberal side of politics. So we need to check ourselves as a party and make sure that a black woman is elected, not appointed, elected, actually chosen by the party to represent whatever capacity that they need this black woman to do.
Mustafa.
Well, you know, my grandmother always said, when you know better, do better. You know, and you shared that black women are the backbone of the Democratic Party. I would take it a little further than that. I'd say the black women are the backbone of our country, if you actually understand, for those of us who understand the history of our country. And I think there are a number of opportunities so that we can address this devaluation that currently exists on Capitol Hill. So not only in the voting of the current positions, but we can also make sure that we have a 21st century legislature that actually may need to create additional positions so that we can make sure that all the things that are needed to be handled are being handled with this new sets of opportunities and responsibilities that are coming forward. I think that we also got to give some consideration also to the fact that when you only have 2 black women as chairs of committees, that there's work that needs to be done in that space also. And the reason that I raise that is because when you have those high-ranking positions, there is a lot of attention that's placed on those. And then it also probably would help as folks are deciding their votes if we had more folks who are in those positions and showing all the incredible work that they've been able to do in whatever that respective time frame is. And then the third and last point that I'll make is that I'm not sure if we should have to wait until the next cycle. And the reason that I raise that is because there are a number of corporations and nonprofit organizations and others who are going through this reevaluation of power sharing and making some significant changes to their structures. So maybe it is also time for those folks on Capitol Hill to follow suit with many of these nonprofit organizations and others who are trying to get in alignment where folks are asking 21st century organizations to be.
Well, it only makes sense. And so, again, one of the things that I have consistently said is that the CBC should be flexing their muscle the same way the House Freedom Caucus did. There are 59 CBC members. There were only 30 House Freedom Caucus members. There is no bill that can pass the U.S. House without the CBC votes. Not one. This is where you flex your power. This is where you sit back and say, ain't a damn thing moving until this happens. It's the same thing I said to the Maryland Black Caucus. They've reintroduced a bill for the funding of HBCUs. Same thing. They have the largest black caucus out of any state in the country. No bill can get passed in the Maryland legislature without black people. And I said, y'all should tell them, ain't no bill getting past anybody without this bill happening first. That's how you use your power.
No, I agree with that. I absolutely agree with that. And that goes back to my original point of how insulting this is. Because the CBC is so powerful, why haven't they gotten behind those black women who have run for these positions in the past 40-something odd years? This does not make sense. I understand that Hakeem Jeffries has a position, Jim Clyburn has a position, but once again, you cannot tell me that Barbara Lee is not qualified. You cannot tell me that Ayanna Pressley is not qualified, or any other black congresswoman in the past 40-something years is not qualified for any of these 12 positions. That does not make sense. And frankly, if somebody tries to justify it, it would simply be untrue. So you are absolutely right in your sentiment that we should vote as a block to make sure this happens, but also keep in mind that we got to get rid of the sexism involved in blocking black women from these positions in the first place.
All I want is to flex power. That's what I want to see, Mustafa. And again, if you're the CBC, all you got to do is sit on your hands. And here's the other deal. You don't even need the whole CBC. You just need 5. Because guess what? The Democrats they have a slim margin. What, 222? You need 218 to pass? 5 CBC members say, we ain't voting. Done.
I agree with you. Yeah, no, I worked on Capitol Hill for 2 years for John Conyers. So, it's really simple. You have power unless you give it away. We often talk about that on this show. And folks have to decide when they're actually going to cash in some chips. So, I know there's a huge amount of strategy that goes on, but, there's an awful lot of vote counting that goes on in what you're talking about, Roland. And if folks don't have that backing, then it's not going to get done. So folks just got to decide when they truly want to utilize their power. And if they want to actually honor their power and honor the constituencies who continue to send you there, they expect you to stand up, and they can expect you to actually push back against these types of, it's an injustice. Let's just call it out for what it is. It is an injustice. And the Democratic Party has got to do better. So like my grandmother says, when you know better, do better. They know better. It's time for them to do better.
All right, folks, back to our Roland Martin Unfiltered video in just one moment.
It's time to be smart. When we control our institutions, we win. This is the most important news show on television of any racial background. Y'all put $2, $3, $4, $5, $10, $15, $20, $30 on this and keep this going. What you've done, Roland, since this crisis came out in full bloom. Anybody watching this, tell your friends, Go back and look at the last 2 weeks, especially of Roland Martin Unfiltered. I mean, hell, go back and look at the last 2 days. You've had sitting United States senators today, Klobuchar and Harris. Whatever you have that you can bring to Roland Martin Unfiltered to support it, please do, because this information may literally save your life.
Watch Roland Martin Unfiltered daily at 6 p.m. Eastern on YouTube, Facebook, Periscope, or go to martinunfiltered.com. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered Daily Digital Show by going to rolandmartinunfiltered.com. Our goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing $50 each for the whole year. You can make this possible. rolandmartinunfiltered.com.